invasions, alien genocide, base building, and Dr. Vahlen, this is indeed XCOM, Enemy Unknown. But the main reason I'm playing this game, it's on sale for $1.79. I've had my Steam account for 12 years and I'm only level 10. It's time to change that. There's 85 achievements to complete, so let's crack on. Oh, it's been a while, dude. It had indeed been a while, and me being a complete idiot, decided to go with impossible difficulty. Something I will very soon regret.
Good luck, Commander.
To start the game, you choose your base location. There's 5 to choose from, and each have different buffs. I decided to go with Asia for the Officer Training School and Foundry, costing 50% less. They drop you straight into a mission with your team of ragtag noobs still hungover from the night before. This is a tactical turn-based game. The goal is to move your team, find the aliens. Here they are. Little baby aliens. Figure out the controls for the game. Oh, that's how I do it. Do the human thing of trying to blow up aliens with a grenade, which is quickly met with a scolding from Science Mum, advising us not to blow up the aliens.
Certainly effective at killing aliens, they also destroy the artifacts we're hoping to recover from the bodies. Just something
That's
to consider.
right.
Their weapons.
If you get shot, there's a chance you can become panicked, and they can either shoot your team or the enemy team. I got pretty lucky here and killed the enemy. Once you've killed all the aliens, that's mission complete. Headshot. Boom. Hoorah. And with that, I completed my first achievement and tutorial mission. When we return, we're met by Central Officer Bradford. He's there to provide support and basically hold our hand. He tells us that we've got a promotion to give out, so that's what we're going to do. Because Zoltan Papadopoulos was shot and panicked, they become gravely wounded, so he can't be active until those 7 days have gone. Getting kills in combat allow your team to get a promotion. There's 4 different classes they can promote into, which is a heavy, sniper, support, or assault. The sniper's first ability gets headshot, which does this. The heavy gets a sweet rocket launcher. The support gets a smoke grenade, which confers 20 defense to all units, but not just allies. And assault gets run and gun, which allows you to take an action after dashing. After each mission you get some items and artifacts, and this is why you don't want to blow up the aliens, because it will reduce the amount you receive. I currently have 165 credits and the monthly income is 65. This will increase as the game progresses. Clicking on research takes you to the research lab. And to start with, there's 3 choices you can choose to research. Just think of it like choosing your starting Pokemon. Out of the 3 choices I decided to go with Xenobiology. I'm not really sure why. Dr. Vahlen again told us not to blow up the aliens because she wants to probe them. Old mate Dr. Shen welcomed us to engineering.
Welcome to engineering.
Engineering allows you to build or buy items that you've researched, or you can build facilities, which is basically your base building. With the 160 credits that I had, for now I just decided to build a power generator. This will increase my overall power by 5, and it takes 5 days to complete. I also bought 2 medkits, which allow my team to heal on the battlefield. Buying those items gave me my second achievement. Mission Control allows you to scan for activity. This will progress the days for your research and building contracts, and also this is how you get missions.
Commander, we've picked up multiple requests for assistance.
I had to choose which continent to go on the mission, and each one reduces the panic and gives you specific rewards. Canada gives you 4 engineers, Melbourne, Australia gives you 4 scientists, and Berlin, Germany gives you 200 buck. I decided on Canada and we sent to the team loadout screen. This is where you load out your team with different items before a mission. All I did for now was swap out the grenade for a medkit on the assault and the Rook. The mission objective was to eliminate all aliens. Seemed pretty straightforward to me. After entering the battlefield, I did the normal routine of moving people up. I then overheard the aliens yapping, complaining about gas prices probably. After moving Yusuf up to the car here, I did trigger some aliens. They seemed pretty surprised to see me. After slowly moving forward, Margaret here decided to trigger more aliens. Damn it, Margaret. I then proceeded to do something you should never do in XCOM. Blindly dash forward. Oh well, let's just do it. Ooh, that's not good. I just failed to follow the most basic golden rule of XCOM. Don't dash forward. This little fella missed his shot on me, and then this little fella buffed his mate. If I kill the one linking, they both die, right? That is right. If you kill the one given the buff, then they both die since they're linked through alien wizardry. Lieutenant Simon got tagged by this obvious aimbotter, causing her to panic. Don't panic. Oh, damn it. Not the best start. I spent a solid 5 minutes trying to work out how to fire with the sniper. At the time, I didn't know that you can't fire with the sniper after you've moved him. Yeah. What? I'm confused. Failing to figure it out, I just lobbed a grenade. There was a 70% chance to kill this alien, so Dawn with her shotgun did the honors. And since the two aliens were linked, they both did die. Yeah, that one dies as well. Okay. Well played, Margaret. This little fella managed to get a crit on Dawn, causing her to panic. She ran off and triggered even more aliens. Oh, dude. At this point, everything started to go tits up. 4 people. That's GG. I arrived back at base to the entire planet having a hissy fit from that failure. Yeah. So popped a reload. Very quickly failed again, so reloaded from an earlier point. This sent me back to the beginning. Okay, so I just made all the same choices.
Commander.
I scanned for activity. Should get the same mission. Yeah. It was the same mission. The only difference is the rewards had switched continents. From Melbourne, Australia this time. The land down under proved just as difficult, and the team wasn't having a good time. I of course failed the mission, so I decided to do something that hurt my very soul. The decrease in difficulty did make the game a lot more manageable. The basic aliens now only had 3 health, so things like grenades can one-shot them. But as you can see, Margaret here refused to throw a grenade. Every time I clicked it, she just didn't do anything. What? What is happening right now? Personally, I think she was too afraid of Dr. Varlin to use grenades. So instead, she hit a 47% shot on this little fella. She also hit a 50% shot on this fella, killing both of them. Nice. Not too shabby. It's 2 for 1. They did get their own back, killing Haddad, but he was only a rookie, so I wasn't too fussed. Margaret here finished off the linked alien, killing them both. Nice. But that wasn't mission complete, which meant there were more aliens. I found the said aliens. That was a mistake. Okay then. At this point the mission wasn't really recoverable and I realised I'm just bad at the game. Okay, we're gonna have to try that again. Woo! Things went a lot smoother this time, although we did get a couple of injured soldiers. But towards the end it was all down to Margaret. 53. Can get closer. And Margaret, 76. Please. Completely missed a point blank shot with a heavy machine gun. Afterwards I asked Margaret what caused this, and she blamed it on the lamp. Fair enough. To avoid that mistake again, I sent Dawn Lee even closer, making sure to avoid the lamp this time. She finished off the final alien. Oh, we did it, okay. And we completed the mission with an excellent rating. It only took me 16 reloads, but hey ho, not bad for a first mission. After a leisurely cruise back to base, and only Margaret gained a promotion, and poor Rachid Haddad was gravely wounded for 8 days. For the promotion, it was a choice between Bullet Swarm, which did this, and Hollow Targeting, which did this. I'll let you witness my real-time decision-making skills. If I shoot somebody, my team gets plus 10 aim. Although that's not as good as I think, because she really wants to be running up and killing people, and so she's moving, then this isn't going to apply. And with that soundproof logic, I decided to go with Hollow Targeting, which gives 10 aim to any allies that shoot the same target as Margaret. Pretty neat. The mission loot was 10 sectoid corpses and 12 weapon fragments. I'll take it. I could also now build a new facility, the workshop, and each workshop adds 5 engineers to the staff. If you build them close together, you get a 7% refund on resources used when building vehicles, foundry projects and facilities. We also retrieved our 4 engineers, reduced the panic in Australia by 1, but they increased across Europe and America. Okay.
Every member of the council is going to want satellite coverage, so we should plan our deployments carefully.
That was Officer Bradford telling us we're gonna have to make some choices. I have no idea the most efficient way or the proper way to implement satellites, so I'm just going to wing it. But this is essentially telling us that satellites increase the monthly funding, they also increase the monthly rewards from that continent, and if every country in that continent is monitored by a satellite, you get additional continent specific rewards. You do need interceptors to watch them though. And lastly, they do reduce the panic of the continent you place it. Currently I have a gross monthly income of 175 credits, but you do need facility maintenance and craft maintenance. These expenses get taken out your monthly income. There is a grey market to sell your juicy alien corpses and weaponry, but Officer Bradford lets us know we need to be careful when doing this, because some of the items you sell may not have been researched, and we also need those items to make other items in the foundry.
The council hasn't been examined by the research team. I'm sure Dr. Volland would be disappointed if we put financial gains ahead of our own research and development.
Dr. Varlin was also questioning why the aliens are doing what they're doing, but that's above my pay grade.
Are they studying us?
I scanned for activity, which completed the power generator event. Build a base facility. Nice. Back at base, I did sell a few corpses and weapon fragments, just so I could afford to buy a satellite. 20 days. 20 days. As you can see, it takes a long time to build a satellite. It's better to get them done early. I scanned for activity, which completed the xenobiology event, earning me my 4th achievement. And then the team had an important discussion.
You're telling me that we should risk the lives of our troops so we can take one of these things alive?
Yes. Without a live specimen, I'm afraid we've reached the pinnacle of what my team is able to accomplish.
Mission objective: take an alien alive. That is something we won't be doing for quite a while. We do get the ability to build an alien containment facility, but we won't be doing this just yet. And also Dr. Farland briefly explains that she believes the aliens are genetically engineered, so it's super important that we study them alive. When choosing the next research, you do get the priority task of researching the arc thrower, but that's not my priority. I decided to research alien materials instead, which will be completed in 8 days. I have $2 to my name. Damn, dude. With $2 to my name, I scanned for activity and got my first UFO contact mission. The way this works is you choose an interceptor to fight the UFO, and then you witness an automatic battle. You either win or you lose. If you do win the fight, you do get to go to the UFO crash site, and these missions are important because this is where you get a lot of materials. I also earned my 5th achievement. Nice. The team pretty much stayed the same. The only difference is I took the medikit off the sniper to give it to the support. And then they were good to go. Now the crash UFO missions are pretty important because this is where you get the majority of your resources for the game. Now to avoid this video being 60 hours long, I think it's best to do the brief overview of missions and highlight any special missions. With the crash UFO missions, first you have to find the crash UFO. Once found, you have to fight your way to the center of the ship, eliminating any aliens in your way. When you do finally get close enough, you're met with this little fella, and we can all agree, a very handsome lad. He's called an outsider alien. There's nothing special, but you'll find them at the majority of the crashed UFO sites. But the main purpose of these guys is story related, which we're gonna find out soon enough. Now, he may be handsome, but he's not very smart. He ran out of cover and took a shotgun to the face. And that's all she wrote. With an easy mission knocked out of the park, we headed back to base. I could now build a new facility, which was the Officer Training School. It gives you quite a few bonuses, but the best thing about this is you can increase your squad size. Finally. After a job well done, I had 3 promotions to give out. For Yusuf, the sniper, it was a choice between Snapshot, which removes the sniper rifle's restriction on firing after moving, which is a pretty big deal, but you do get a -20 aim penalty, and Squad Sight, which allows firing at targets in an ally's sight radius. I always go with Squad Sight, every single time. Good old Margaret was promoted to Sergeant, and she had a choice between Shredder Rocket, which does this, and Suppression, which does this. And after 3 seconds of thinking, I decided to go with Suppression. Dawn Lee was promoted to Corporal, and she had a choice between Tactical Sense, which gives 5 defense per enemy in sight, or Aggression, which gives 10% critical chance per enemy in sight. I decided to go with Tactical Sense. Now for the spoils of war. The main thing to keep in mind when doing those missions is to not blow anything up, because if you do, you receive damaged parts, and I had a few of them here. But besides that, not a bad haul. My current objective was to construct an alien containment facility, but I didn't have enough cash, so with nothing else to do at the base, I scanned for activity and was met with an abduction mission. Okay, more engineers,
I've got the coordinates locked in.
$200, or 4 scientists. I wanted the engineers, so decided to go with the United States, and prepped the team for the mission. I didn't need to make any changes for the team, so they were good to go. Let's go. Now, this was a typical mission, nothing really too special about it, besides a few questionable crits. Oh, I got... What? There were a lot of basic enemies, which is good for promotions, but besides that, nice and easy. Nice. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Another successful mission, however Zoltan, he got pretty messed up. 16 days. God damn. Enjoy your 16-day holiday, Zoltan. Dawn Lee had been promoted to Sergeant. There was a choice between lightning reflexes. Forces the first reaction shot against this unit each turn to miss. Pretty nice. Or close and personal. Confers 30% critical chance against adjacent targets. The bonus declines with distance from the target, so that's if she's close to teammates. No, I'm going to go with lightning reflexes. Lightning reflexes it is. Zoltan made it to Corporal and had a choice between Sprinter, which allows you to move 3 additional tiles, or Covering Fire, which allows reaction shots on enemy attacks, not just movement. He's the support, so the tiles is pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Movement is massive in these kind of games. I got a few more corpses and weapon fragments. I received my 4 engineers and reduced the panic in the United States by 2. There wasn't much to do in the base, so I just scanned for activity and completed the alien materials research. This allowed us to make the nanofiber vest, which increases health of the person wearing it. I then had to choose a new research project. Let's do the autopsy.
We've made a number of interesting discoveries based on the autopsy results of the alien specimen you brought back.
Dr. Varlin got to probing and discovered they are genetically manipulated. After that fruitful endeavour, I decided to buy 2 nanofiber vests. I scanned for activity and was met with a council communication to make a selection. I had never done this before, I didn't know what this was. What is this? But I had a choice between Slingshot or Random, which is the original game. In the end, I decided to go with Slingshot and was sent on a council mission. And the reward for the mission was $200, 2 scientists and 2 engineers. It's pretty good. Prepping the team, I gave Dawn Lee the nanofiber vest, which increases health by 2. I gave Samad the medkit, and gave Haddad the second nanofiber vest. We were then ready to go. This mission introduces us to the most badass character we've met yet. Meet Zhang.
You must be my contacts. No one who fears reprisal would make an entrance like that.
Now Zhang is a certified badass, and this fella is going to be in my main party until the end of the game. This mission is a little different in that we need to save Zhang and get him to the extraction point. Okay, save. I started by slowly moving the team up, being careful not to dash. We do also get control of Zhang.
But he was taking offers from a variety of bidders, regardless of their intentions.
He can't do anything besides hunker down, so we just keep him out of the way, I guess. We then met a new kind of enemy, and of course Dr. Vahlen wanted to capture it. I put the team in Overwatch the round before, and they did manage to get a hit on one. Now these beautiful specimens are called Thin Men. They're not too difficult, they have pretty low health, but they can poison you and deal more damage than the basic enemies. Uh-oh. 5 damage. Now when you kill these things, they release a cloud of poison gas, so you don't want to be stood next to them when they die. We also had the pleasure of dealing with the little basic aliens. Nice. And then we're introduced to another new alien, the Chrysalid. What is that? These things are melee based, and the best part about these guys is they like to implant eggs into live specimens so they can burst out of them. That's something you'll get to witness in Terra missions, and it's pretty grim. Okay, 100%, go for it. Nice. Now, you're not going to see this, but this mission took me way longer than I cared to admit. This mission was no joke, but after many reloads, we managed to save Zhang.
But the life I had is gone now. Turning my back on old friends to defeat a common enemy.
That did complete another achievement. I'm just not sure why it didn't record the Steam overlay. Successful mission was successful, so we did have a few promotions to give out. However, Margaret was wounded for 11 days, and Ratchet Haddad, KIA, rest in peace. Mr. Sergeant Sniper had a choice between Gunslinger, which gives 2 bonus damage to pistols, and Damn Good Ground, which gives extra elevation bonuses. This is another perk that I take every single time. Margaret got promoted to Lieutenant, and she had a choice between Heat Ammo, which gives 100% damage against robotic enemies, or Rapid Reaction, which gives a second Overwatch attack if the first one hits. And I decided to go with Heat Ammo. Dawn Lee also made it to Lieutenant, and she had a choice between Flush, which fires a shot that causes enemies to scatter, basically, or Rapid Fire, which takes 2 shots but with a -15 penalty to aim. But since she's going to be up close and personal with a shotgun, I decided to go with Rapid Fire. I got some more corpses and weapon fragments for loot, but I could also do a Thin Man autopsy and a Chrysalid autopsy, since these were new enemies. I could now build a laboratory which increases research speed by 20%, and if you build a couple close together you get an additional 10%. And I got my mission rewards. Since I got the cash reward for the last mission, I decided to build a satellite uplink, which allows me to deploy more satellites over the continents, and I decided to get these out of the way early since they do take quite a while to build. I didn't have enough money to buy anything else, so I went to the grey market and sold a few things. And as you can see, I don't sell the damage components because at this point in the game I forgot that you can. Now that I had a bit of money, I decided to build the alien containment facility. This is needed to progress the game, so I thought I'd get it out of the way now. With nothing else to do at the base, I scanned for activity, and managed to finish the research for the sectoid autopsy. Dr. Vahlen figures out that all the little aliens are clone copies of each other, and we could also now build the uplink targeting, which is a one-time use aim increase for ship combat. Let's do weapon fragments. I chose the weapon fragments research project, then continued scanning for activity, and managed to complete the alien jail cell. With the jail cell complete, I just needed to capture some aliens to put inside. I also completed a satellite. Nice. I decided to place the satellites over Europe so I could get the expert knowledge bonus. So we deployed the satellite over Germany to start with. However, it told me that there's no interceptors in Europe, which means I have no way to stop an alien attack on the satellite, if they decided to. To deal with ship management, you have to go to the hangar, and currently I have the default 2 interceptors in Asia, so I needed to transfer one to Europe.
From here, you can arrange to have our interceptors transferred to bases throughout the world. By stationing our fleet on various continents, we'll have a much better chance of intercepting new UFO contacts in those areas.
Thank you for that info, Shen. You can also order the interceptors, which only cost $40, but they do have a monthly cost to upkeep. I did want another one of these bad boys, but with $10 to my name, I had to go back to the grey market to sell a few more corpses. And that gave me just enough to order one to North America. And those will be ready in 3 days. I scanned for activity again and completed the weapon fragments research project. This allowed me to make the scope, which increases all aim by 10, and that's going to be very important for our snipers. I went with a Thin Man autopsy for my next research project. I sold a few more things in the grey market, which allowed me to buy one scope. Buy a scope. And I'll put that on the sniper. I scanned for activity, which gave me an achievement that the recorder didn't pick up again. Whoa, that was a lot of stuff. However, I did receive my first monthly council report.
We are extremely impressed with the progress of the XCOM project thus far.
And this unknown guy, who's apparently my boss, was pretty impressed with me. But I can assure you, this does not last. There's a few places doing pretty bad. Africa's fine. Europe, I've just put a satellite in Europe, so I'm going to try and reduce the panic here. The report also gives you a brief overview of the missions completed, UFOs shot down, etc. And also your grade. Take a good look at the A grade. You'll not be seeing it again for a while.
Remember, we will be watching.
Right, this is big because we've got some credits now. I built another satellite because I'm trying to get them out of the way early. However, I did need more capacity, but I was building a satellite uplink, so it was still fine to build it now. I also wanted to build the officer training school, but of course I needed more money. So I went to the grey market and finally realised I can sell the damaged components. Yay me. That gave me enough money to build the officer training school, which takes 8 days to complete. Okay, I'm getting a satellite built, the officer training school, which is very much needed. So I guess we just crack on, right? And crack on we did. I scanned for activity and managed to build the satellite uplink. This allows me to deploy more satellites over the continents. When scanning again, I got a request from the United States for 2 scopes. The reward is 3 engineers, which is pretty big. I already had 1 scope in storage, so went to the grey market, sold a few more corpses, bought 2 more scopes, and accepted the request. I dispatch. Oh, fulfill a council request, that was a challenge, nice. It did earn me another achievement, where the Steam overlay isn't recorded, but I'll take those engineers. And that concludes this portion of the base micromanagement. That was a lot, but in the early game, it's very important that you deal with it. After scanning again, I got a UFO contact.
You've got another contact. The signature is a little bigger this time, though. Bangs out.
Come on. Whew. With it being a medium class UFO, I did take quite a bit of damage, but managed to take it down anyway. Setting up the team ready for the mission, we get to see Lieutenant Zhang. You do get him as a lieutenant straight off the bat. Yes. So I had a few promotions to give out, and also it took me a hot minute to realise who this guy was. Oh, this is the VIP that we saved. Right. He is a heavy class, so you do get the rocket launcher straight away. I also took Bullets one, which allows you to fire twice if no other action was taken. I also gave him the Shredder rocket, which fires a rocket that causes enemies to take 33% damage for 4 turns. And finally I took Rapid Reaction, which does the second Overwatch attack if the first one hit. Now Zhang was ready to kick some ass. The only other change was to give Mr. Sniper the scope for that plus 10 aim, and then sent them to battle. Operation Bloody Mother was just another Crash UFO mission, so I'll just skip through this and highlight any important parts, but as before the main goal is to just not blow anything up. The only difference with this mission was the ship was medium sized, so we get more resources if we do it correctly. I found the ship. Okay, here's the ship. I had an epic battle with the 2 little basic aliens, and this was the first time I got to see lightning reflexes in action. Uh-oh. Oh, lightning reflexes. Already that thing saved my life, dude. The lightning reflex perk is indeed pretty good. It's going to save my life many times. That should be that one dead as well. Yes. 2 for 1. I continued my alien killing spree. However, they also continued their human killing spree. Nope. Nope. Reload. After that instant one tap by the Thin Man, I had to reload. What you don't see are the 50 other reloads for the same reason. I can't have that, dude, at all. But at least the Sniper was making good use of his new scope. My gamey sense started tingling. I swear, behind this little rock here. If I go here. Yes, I knew it. I knew it, dude. Acknowledging my superior spidey sense, I started making my way into the ship. Okay, I'm gonna work my way around this way. It's a little bigger than the one we had previously, but that does mean more loot.
What's making that noise?
I finally made it to the centre of the ship, opened the door, and triggered the handsome fella. Again, these guys aren't too difficult, and I had just the person for the job. I need this lady to get in his face. 100%. It appears Dawnley loves to shotgun people in the face.
Operational objectives.
Nice. Another mission down. They made their way back to base. Unfortunately no promotions this time, and Zhang was wounded for 11 days, but he'll walk it off. New research available. Alien nav computer. We've got 23 Illyrium, 78 alien alloys, 12 weapon fragments, some things to sell, 2 non-damaged UFO flight computers. Okay. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff indeed. I still have only $11. $11 is enough to save the world from aliens, right? If anybody could save the world from aliens on $11, it'd be my dad, a man who spends $3 on petrol to save 50 cents on milk. I sold the damaged parts and made a nice $100. Since I was pretty much capped on power, I decided to buy another power generator, just to get it out of the way. Yeah, I'll just do that. I'll get it out of the way. I was also streaming this segment, and this was at the end of the session. It feels good to play this game again. This is a pretty old game and it still feels like such a pleasure to play. It really is a pleasure to play this game again. It's very nostalgic and I'm having a lot of fun. The next day I continued on and scanned for activity and managed to complete the Old Muskie autopsy. We find out from the report that they're reptilian in nature, hence the nickname Old Muskie. There is an achievement for doing all the autopsies, so I went with the chrysalid autopsy next. And they are pretty fast, this one takes 5 days. I scanned for activity and was met with an abduction mission. Egypt was a difficult low panic mission, but it gave us a new recruit that was already a sergeant. The US was a moderate low panic mission for 4 scientists, and India was a very difficult high panic mission for $200. Strapped for cash and needing to reduce the panic, I decided to go with the very difficult India mission. The only change made was to give Papadopoulos his medkits, then sent them on holiday. Now we're pretty far into the video, and if you've made it this far, I do appreciate it, but I don't think I've actually gone over the controls for the game yet. In the bottom left of the screen you'll see the perks that you've taken. You have your normal fire ability, your class ability, and then Overwatch. Overwatch is where you end your turn, but if an alien enters your line of sight, you take a shot. It's a very important ability. Now in this mission we are met with a new alien.
It's not going to win any beauty contests, that's for sure.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Dr. Shen. They shouldn't let anybody tell them different. These things are called floaters, low health, high mobility aliens that just dart around the map. Due to the low health, they are pretty easy to kill at this stage in the game, but besides the floaters, this was a pretty basic kill all aliens mission. Now the mission objectives might have been basic, but the execution, not so much. The game were not joking around when it said this was a very difficult mission. This guy died so hard he lost his hair. The amount of reloads I had to do for this mission, I'm not even going to admit to you. But let's just say that I spent over an hour trying to complete this mission. And in the end I gave up. I failed. I loaded an earlier save into the base and skipped the abduction mission, which caused massive panic across the continents. But you know what? I'll live with my failure. Through the screams of terror I scanned for activity, which eventually made them stop whinging, and I completed the power generator. I had $51 to my name, so spent $50 on the access lift, which allows us to build on the lower level, and that'll take 5 days to complete. I scanned for activity and managed to complete the chrysalid autopsy. Now the report on these things is like a horror story. It goes into detail about when a human is bitten, an embryo is injected into the host and begins to gestate. The host turns into a zombie, you know, the kind of story that lets you sleep like a baby. But the good news is we could now build a chitting plating, which is like an upgraded version of the nanofiber vest, giving us more health. For the next research project I went with experimental warfare. That'll take 8 days to complete. Scanning for activity, I finally completed the officer training school. It's about damn time. Now in the officer training school there's a lot of things you can buy. The main thing being the squad size upgrade, which is pretty self-explanatory. And there's 2 tiers. You can increase your squad to 5 soldiers, and then the second tier you can increase your squad to 6. Another good one to get is New Guy, which turns all rookies into squaddies, giving them a rank in a class. Rapid Recovery heals wounded soldiers twice as fast. Don't Die on Me allows higher ranked soldiers to not get killed in the field, but instead be critically wounded, which can be healed. Iron Will allows soldiers to gain more will when they promote, and will is something we'll go into later on in the game. And Wet Work gives 25% experience from kills. As you can see, this is all pretty important stuff to get. Your team members have to be a high enough rank to be able to buy this stuff. But the good news is, because of my starter continent, I do get a massive discount. I sold some juicy corpses to make some money.
You tell the men we can't have them bringing back alien body parts as souvenirs. It's a breach of protocol.
Upset that I couldn't keep some alien toes on my bedside cabinet, I finally bought the squad size one. I couldn't purchase squad size 2 just yet. I also bought Wet Work for the 25% experience gain, and that's all I could afford for now. I scanned for activity and completed the access lift, and then I wanted to buy some chitting plating, but I needed more chrysalid corpses. Scanning this time, I actually got a council mission. You do get achievements for completing these, and the reward is 2 engineers, so off I went.
We are confident that you will handle this matter with discretion.
As you can see, I now have my 5th squad member, and had to put the medkits back on Papadopoulos. I don't know why they keep being removed. I also gave Margaret the nanofiber vest instead of the medkit, and everything else looked good, so set off on my redemption arc from the failure of last mission. Now, with this being a council mission, it's not your typical blow every alien up mission. There is still that objective, it's just got extra steps. Officer Bradford explains that the alien battleship is heading to the city, and we need to stop it. We also only have 10 turns remaining, so this is a timed mission.
This is the train we're going to be using to move the transponders.
So the whole objective was to place navigation transponders on the train. The big gold glowing arrows direct you to where you need to click, and all you need to do is place 4 on the train. Sounds easy enough, right? What they don't tell you is there'll be 15,000 of these slimy little shits. And these guys never seem to miss a shot, by the way. But also, after you place a transponder, along with Bradford explaining the signals will pull the alien battleship away from the city, allowing for an ambush, we also get the joy of meeting these old beefy boys.
The alien battleship is still on a direct course for the city, Commander.
I don't envy anyone who is to go up against that thing.
These things are called mutons. They're quite interesting because when you shoot them, they get super pissed off. They try and intimidate anybody who shot them, causing them to become frightened. But just like with any big threat, fire a big rocket at it. I know I'm not supposed to be blowing up new enemies with explosives, but Dr. Varland's probing can wait. I'm fighting for my life here.
One transponder left to be activated.
With only one transponder left to go and 6 turns remaining, I thought I had this in the bag. I even hit a 33% chance shot, which I was pretty proud of, even though it was only for 2 damage. But that 2 damage must have tickled him the wrong way or something. He instantly retaliated with a massive crit, killing Papadopoulos. These guys do not miss. We also had another one of these beefy boys beamed into existence, so things were starting to go south pretty fast. But when the chips were down, I pulled out the biggest brain strat I know. Reloading.
That battleship is still on a direct course for the city. We have to get moving.
Many reloads later, I decided to change up the strat and just try and beeline to the transponder, because trying to deal with the enemies just wasn't working. Papadopoulos died many times. It seemed to be a crit magnet, but I'd had enough, so decided to go with it for this attempt. With Papadopoulos dead and almost every other team member panicked or poisoned, it all came down to Dawn Lee to save the day. To put it into perspective, I was losing so bad, the enemy took pity on me and blew himself up. Working my way towards the transponder, Dawn Lee had 2 health remaining. I had to run past the big fella, but luckily lightning reflexes saved my life. With 1 turn remaining, everything came down to the shot from 2 enemies. If either of them hit, I lose. If they both miss, I win. What?
Transponders are in position and the train is ready to leave the station. We were too late. That ship just opened fire on the city.
Completely dumbfounded about how I failed the mission. I thought it was because I dashed to the control panel but didn't have the turn to click it. But that's not how this mission works. You don't have to click the control panel. So the game actually scammed me. I popped to reload, got into pretty much the same position as before, dashed to the control panel with 1 turn remaining, except this time it worked.
It looks like all the transponders are in position and the train is ready to leave the station.
I actually completed the mission that time and earned myself the bait and hook achievement. Not too shabby. For that riveting mission, we did get 3 juicy promotions, although we did lose 2 people. Say goodbye to Papadopoulos and Morozova. They will be missed. But on a cheerier note, our sniper upgraded to a lieutenant and decided to give him disabling shot, which causes the target's main weapon to malfunction. Good old Margaret got promoted to captain, and I of course gave her the double grenade perk. And last but not least, Dawn Lee is a captain now as well. I decided to give her close combat specialist, which confers a reaction shot against any enemy who gets close to her within 4 tiles. The alternative was Bring 'em On, which adds 1 damage on critical hits for each enemy the squad can see, but I'm not really interested in that one. For the spoils of war, we got some more alien corpses and fragments, and we could now do a muton autopsy. The official reward for the council mission were 2 engineers, which are always needed, and they're telling us we can now pull the alien ship off course, and we can land a squad directly on its back and attempt to capture. Sounds fun. In terms of base management, the first thing I had to do was visit the memorial, because they play you a nice send-off song. And now their watch has ended. Scanning for activity, I received a council mission straight away.
Priority 1 transmission coming in from the council.
This was the next main story mission after the one we just completed where we have to board and infiltrate an alien ship. But since it's a council mission, I can just abandon it and go back to it whenever I want. Nothing bad happens if you don't do the quest. So instead I decided to scan for more activity and intercepted a UFO. This was only a small ship, so we did defeat it, but we did sustain some damage. I did send in the A squad, but there's nothing here you haven't seen before. This is just a basic obtain materials mission. Fairly simple, fairly easy. So I think I'm going to start skipping over these. Nothing noteworthy happened this mission, besides the fact we finish it off with a 22% chance, which is pretty nice. A very easy mission, super quick, and that did allow the rookie to promote to a support. We also got some juicy loot since it was a crash UFO mission, so I'll be taking that, thank you. Back at base I sold a few corpses and my damaged UFO power source, and decided to spend my pocket money on a shiny new satellite and the squad size 2 upgrade, and now on missions we can use a full squad. I scanned for activity, which completed the experimental warfare research. And that does allow us to build the foundry at the base, and also a Phoenix cannon, which is a fighter jet weapon upgrade. And for the next research project I decided on the floater autopsy.
Also, I'm sure you can make the connection yourself. We've designated this particular specimen as a floater.
I'll take a wild guess and assume the names because it floats. Now when I scanned for activity this time, I was presented with the Gangplank Council mission again, only this time I decided to do it. Watching this back now, I realised just how unprepared I was for this mission. But, new mission, new me, and finally decided to upgrade the armour of anybody who reaches Lieutenant. However, the game didn't allow me to customise Zhang since it's a council mission NPC, so he's gonna rock the bottle of mustard look for now. Operation First Druid seemed like a basic mission to start off with. Basically, don't destroy the ship so we can loot it and kill all alien defenders.
To set that battleship down intact, we'll have to start by disabling the power conduits positioned across its surface.
After entering the ship, Officer Bradford explained about the power conduits, which are these things here.
The conduits positioned on the surface of that battleship are tied directly into the ship's power grid. If we can disable the conduits or destroy them with explosives, it should put that thing out of commission, allowing us to seize its cargo without the risk of collateral damage.
Okay, so we disable the power conduits, which in turn allows us to loot the ship without blowing it up. So that is what I decided to do. What they didn't explain was how many of these goddamn lizardmen there'd be. Straight away, dude. No, that's gonna be a reload. Straight off the bat I had to pop a reload. The only issue was I didn't save on the mission. Wait a minute. So I had to head back to base. It was at this point I accidentally figured out I can zoom in around the base and basically spy on my employees. Dude, I never knew this. Hey, get back to work. This is something I never knew you could do and I was quite impressed by it. I never knew you could do this. Is that Yusuf? That's Yusuf. Okay, after having way too much fun spying on people in the base, I figured I best save humanity, so headed back into the mission.
Big Sky took care of the delivery, but now comes the hard part.
After popping a save, I went to the first power conduit to trigger the fights again.
Got something over here.
This time I did pretty well, taking down the thin men, and I actually managed to disable the first power conduit this time, by lobbing a grenade at it.
Commander, whatever you just did seems to have stirred up the hornet's nest.
Bradford explained that now that we'd destroyed one, they're going to start sending everything they have at us, and that is exactly what the aliens did. The amount of thin men that was popping into existence was like nothing I'd seen in any other mission, and they were all automatically in Overwatch. So, as you might have guessed, there were many reloads. I'm gonna reload that again. Many reloads. Eventually they started sending their bug people to try and kill me. But through the power of saving, loading, and RNG, I actually managed to get to the second power conduit. Just like the last one, they sent a bunch of Thin Men, the ET aliens, and the chrysalids. So I slowly worked my way through those, and managed to turn off the second power conduit. I was working my way through the ship, checking out the sights, killing some aliens, when all of a sudden this weird thing intercepted me. What the hell is that thing?
We can't get a read on that thing. Its movements are so inconsistent.
Now this petri dish, transformer, fidget spinner looking thing was no joke. Okay. As you can see, no joke. Why am I fighting one of these things so early in the game? I was genuinely surprised to see one of these things so early in the game, but challenge accepted, popped a reload, changed my strat.
We can't get a read on that thing. Its movements are so inconsistent.
8 damage. Now the trick to synthetic enemies is your heavies. You can take a perk that allows them to deal extra damage to synthetic enemies, and luckily I had one that did. After whittling it down, it was Zhao that finished it off. You do need to be careful when you kill these things though, because they do explode. After killing the sentient petri dish, I carried on working my way through, going to the power conduits. You destroy that?
Power conduit is disabled. There's another conduit down. You only need to deactivate 2 more.
Slowly chipped away at the 8 million aliens being sent to kill me. Okay. After many reloads, I got to a point where Zhao had to become a sacrificial lamb. Here he comes. No way, dude. No. You know what? By this point, I'd reloaded way too many times to try and find a strategy to save Zhao. And I just couldn't see it, so she became the lamb and I decided to stick with it. But rest assured, Zhao was avenged. You know what, I'll take it, that worked out fine. By this point the team was in very bad shape. They were all low health with no medkits and we was down a team member. But the last 2 power conduits were in sight and right next to each other luckily. Another shot.
Conduit down. Only 1 more to go. Take that out and the ship is ours.
I kept on seeing the alien activity screen, which caused me anxiety, thinking that I'm going to get bombarded by more aliens. But thankfully they never came, and I was actually free to just run over to the last power conduit and turn it off.
Nicely done, Commander. That ship is
The
now
bigger they
officially
are,
under XCOM
complete
control.
gangplank.
Although I don't think we'll have the
Nice.
hangar.
That monumental mission was completed. 19 aliens killed. We did lose Zhao, unfortunately, but we did also get the achievement for completing the mission. I'll take it. I'd rather not say how long that mission actually took me, but it was now complete, so I headed back to base to do some damage control. Look at this. Ying Zhao, your sacrifice will be remembered. Rogers is wounded for 5 days. Yusuf is wounded for 7 days. Margaret's wounded for 10 days. As you can see, that mission did quite a number on the team, but we had some promotions to give out, so that's exactly what I did. For Yusuf, the choice was between Executioner, which gives you extra aim against low health enemies, or you can take Opportunist, which eliminates the aim penalty on reaction shots, and they can cause critical hits. I did decide to go with Opportunist. Zhang got promoted to Captain, and he had the choice between 2 grenades or Danger Zone. Danger Zone increases area effect of suppression and rockets, but I ended up going with Grenadier. 2 grenades is too good. The new kid on the block, Ben Rogers, got his smoke grenade. And finally I got a new sniper. And we finally got another sniper, the British sniper. Mr. Adam Hill. Congratulations. Now for the loot, we got a bunch of high-end new gear to research, a metric ton of materials to use. What is this? Why is there so much stuff? And a buttload of corpses. Not too shabby. We also got the official reward from the mission, which were 2 scientists and 2 engineers. Before I dealt with the base tasks, there was just one thing I needed to do first. With the massive haul of loot I received, I managed to make a juicy $669 from the grey market. With the extra cash, I bought an extra medkit and a scope, excavated a steam vent ready for a power generator, and bought the rapid recovery from the officer training school, which allows my injured soldiers to heal twice as fast. Scanning for activity gave me an abduction site mission, and the rewards were either 4 engineers, 4 scientists, or a lieutenant sniper. But since I'd just received a new sniper, I decided to go for the engineers. This was just another kill everything in sight mission, so that's exactly what I did.
Good riddance. Everything by the
Nice. You're welcome, Australia. Although the fellas from down under were saved, Egypt, Nigeria and Russia weren't too happy about it. But hey, what can you do? Our British sniper got promoted to corporal, so I of course gave him the squad side perk. It's just too good. We also got a new assault and support squaddy and the default abilities that come with that, but they can sit in reserve for now. And also something that confused me is Dawn Lee was gravely wounded and Ming Lee was wounded, but they were both for 5 days. I don't understand that. I went to the hangar and finally decided to order an interceptor for South America and Africa. I mean, high-tech fighter jets for $40? Don't mind if I do. Scanning completed the floater autopsy, which allowed me to build a defense matrix, which increases the dodge chance of your fighter jet when intercepting UFOs. After the big council mission that I did, I had a bunch of stuff to research, but I decided to go with the Petri dish autopsy for now.
We've yet to recover one of these in functional condition from the field. The men seem to enjoy using them for target practice.
I finished building a new satellite, but I had to choose between a lot of whinging countries since they were not doing so good. But I decided sending one over Russia were the best bet to keep working towards the European buffs. I finished the Cyberdisc autopsy, which gave me nothing. I thought this thing would give me some cool weapons to make, but instead I got another fighter jet activatable that I'll probably never use. By this point I was committed to the autopsies, so I went with the Muton autopsy for the next research project.
This is the most physically aggressive specimen we've discovered so far, which the troops fondly refer to as the Muton.
Scanning this time caused a cutscene to trigger, showing the aliens wreaking havoc on the population. And this pretty gnarly cutscene introduces us to Terra missions. Damn, dude. Damn. Pretty cool cutscene, I have to say. Now, Terra missions you have to do right away, because the continent that they're terrorizing, if you don't do the mission, they will automatically get removed from the XCOM project. So for such an occasion, I of course sent in the A squad with my 2 snipers, 2 assaults, 1 heavy and 1 support. It was time to earn their pay.
Central, this is Big Sky. Confirm signal uplink. Strike team is in position near the terror site. Awaiting confirmation.
Solid copy, Big Sky. Strike 1 has been given the green light. Your highest priority is to protect those civilians.
The way this mission works is you of course need to kill the aliens, but your main priority is to save civilians. The catch is that the aliens will spend their turns killing those civilians. There's one. If you look to the top, you can see how many civilians are alive. Your goal is to save more than the aliens kill. The green icon shows when a civilian is saved, and the red icon shows when a civilian is alien food. Fairly straightforward. Unfortunately, Sergeant Boyer did get infected by a chrysalid. Ow. Yeah. And they turn you into a zombie.
As unprofessional as it sounds, the bite seems to have turned him into a zombie.
Oh yeah. Now the zombies are pretty slow, but if they do manage to bitch slap you, they hit very hard. And there was of course many reloads. Towards the end I'd saved 10, but 8 sadly didn't make it. I finished mopping up the rest of the aliens and zombies, which did complete the mission, but since I lost 8 civilians I only got the good rating. But hey, since it's my first Terra mission, I'll take it. After a job well done, we headed back to base and had some promotions to give out. Mr. Adam Hill became a sergeant, and I gave him the damn good ground, which increases accuracy when elevated, and that's something that will become very nice later on. Yusuf has been promoted to Major. We received our first Major. When somebody reaches the rank of Major, they receive a default ability, and in a sniper's case they get low profile, which makes all partial cover count as full. Pretty nice. And our support and assault squatters got promoted to Corporal, moving up in the world. Mr. Ben Rogers, the support, got the Sprinter perk. I'll go with Sprinter. And this person got the Tactical Sense perk, increasing defense per enemy in sight. Okay. We got hardly any loot for the Terror mission, but the panic in Argentina got reduced by 3 and the rest of the South America continent had its panic reduced by 1. Terror missions are very important to do. Morale was high and I finished the Muton autopsy, which gave me nothing. I felt scammed, but for the next project I finally decided to go with the alien nav computer, which will take 10 days to complete. The steam vent had been excavated, which allowed me to build a thermos generator, which gave the base an extra 20 power to play with. It's very nice since I was pretty much capped on power at this point. I can build the thermo generator over the steam and it gives quite a bit of extra power. So let's do that. 200 credits to build it. But that'll be worth it. Building that thermo generator pretty much made me broke. So I quickly sold some stuff at the grey market so I could build the access lift to get to the next tier of the base. Okay, making progress. It was now time for my council report. With the state of the continents, I figured there'd be some withdrawals, and rest assured India, Egypt and Nigeria noped out of the project, but this was fine for now.
You've done an admirable job in combating the alien threat over the course of this past month, Commander. However, we still believe there is room for improvement in your efforts.
Overall for the month I got a C grade, which isn't very good, but the early game is the hardest, so it is what it is. The immediate concern was Canada, who were pretty mad at us, but they can be calmed down with a shiny new satellite watching over them, so I'm not too worried about it. We also got a couple of new crew, and we also made 400 bucks for saving the planet for a month. I guess I'm on minimum wage. I finally built the satellite uplink, which allows more satellites to be deployed over the continents. Because of how important satellites are, I purchased another 2 since they take 20 days to complete, but luckily I had a couple being made close to completion already. I finished the access lift, allowing me on the lower tier of the base, and excavated the 2 available rooms straight away, but these things were starting to get pricey to excavate. I sold more materials on the grey market, without realising at this point that selling my alloys and Illyrium will come back to bite me in the ass later on. But I used the cash to build a second thermo generator to deal with all my power needs and not have to think about it for a while. The satellite was finished building and I immediately launched it over Canada to calm them down. One of the thermo generators finally completed and these things increased my power by 22, which is pretty significant. I sold yet more materials in order to start building the foundry, and it was becoming clear that money was a huge bottleneck at this point in the game. The foundry will take 10 days to complete. The alien nav computer finished researching, which allows me to build the satellite Nexus, which is just a much better version of the satellite uplink, allowing more satellites to be launched. However, the satellite Nexus is very expensive to build. I decided to go with the UFO power source for my next research project, and this little beauty will take 12 days to complete. Another satellite had been built and I decided to send this one over the UK to keep working towards the expert knowledge perk you get when there's a satellite over the whole of Europe. With my increased power capacity, I decided to use the 3rd level of the base for workshops and labs. They do get 10% increased bonuses when built next to each other. So I used the left side for labs, which increases research speed, and the right side for workshops, which adds 5 engineers, reducing building time. We also get facilities and vehicle manufacture 7% cheaper per adjacency bonus of the workshops. Not too shabby. An abduction mission popped and it was a choice between 4 scientists or 4 engineers or a new support captain. I decided to go with France for the scientists, but mainly to lower the panic since it was getting pretty dicey. Since the core team started to come together, Yusuf and Dawn Lee got a gear fashion upgrade. They were now starting to look respectable. Another basic abduction mission. Nothing amazing happened, however during this mission I finally decided to use a smoke grenade, making me realise I was growing as a gamer. There were a lot of muskies and big fellas thrown at us, so unfortunately we did lose Corporal Barrier, He valiantly ran towards the aliens. He dodged the first reaction shot. Nice. But couldn't dodge the second, making him realise he wasn't Neo. He died a hero, the crazy bastard. Besides the one casualty, which is par for the course for me apparently. Not too bad. I mopped up the rest of the aliens without too much fuss, giving us 4 juicy promotions. Mr. Zhang became a major, will to survive. And that reduces all normal damage by 2 if in cover and not flanked. Pretty good. Our British sniper became a lieutenant. You're going to take battle scanner. And I gave him the battle scanner perk, which when thrown uncovers a blind part of the map. We have another major as well. Extra conditioning. Our favourite lady, Dawn Lee, became a major. The assault major perk gives bonus health based on the armour that you're wearing. The heavier the armour, the bigger the bonus. And finally, Mr. Ben Rogers, our American support, became a sergeant. I of course gave him the field medic, which allows 3 medkits to be used per battle instead of 1. The alternative was the extra gas grenade, which I'm not too fussed about. I think it's safe to say the team's coming along well. Okay. Back at base, I of course sold some more alien contraband and finally bought the new guy perk from the officer training school. So now all newly hired soldiers are squaddy rank, meaning they automatically get a class when hired. I also got the Iron Will perk, which increases will bonus per rank up, and that will come into play later on. A UFO contact mission procced, which means I get to stock up on materials, so I sent in the Emperor's warriors and quickly hunted the Xenos. Killing this alien gave me a nice surprise. Nice. Welcoming committee, kill 150 aliens. Remember, that is the whole purpose of this playthrough. They had a whole army of them just staring us down, but the team's skills and experience, using rocket launchers, did some pretty significant damage to them. I gotta say, using rocket launchers is fun for the whole family. I'd recommend it. After mopping up that army of aliens, we cornered the ship's sentinel, making sure not to blow up the ship's core, which is the big glowy green thing in the background. Nice. But when we killed it, the mission wasn't completed, which means there was a rogue alien hiding somewhere. The little rascal eventually shown himself, so Zhang did what he does best and fired a rocket at it. However, that seemed to piss him off because he shot and killed our newbie. What is that? The alien seemed very proud of himself. Zhang avenged Levi by, you guessed it, blowing him up with another rocket. Killing him completed the mission, and I of course stayed true to myself, killing 1 team member off per mission. Squad Soul Levi, KIA, thank you for your service. Despite the loss of Levi, the mission was a success, and good old Margaret got promoted to Major, giving her the Will to Survive perk, the same perk that Zhang has. Dawn was injured for a few days, but we did get a bunch of materials, so not too shabby. My second thermo generator finished building, giving us a nice 90 power to work with, that should see me through for a while. I had a request from Germany to exchange 4 chrysalid corpses for 4 scientists, and since I weren't really using the corpses I decided to accept. But I think I prefer the 4 scientists, so yes. I'll take that. The soldiers I hired also became active, and with the new guy perk, they already had a class, which is a massive quality of life improvement. No more will rookies have to get eaten by aliens to earn their stripes. Nice. The UFO power source finished researching, and that allowed me to build an Elerium generator, which is the best generator you can build for the base. These things were expensive, and I didn't need the power, so for now I left it be. I went with Elerium for the next research project, hoping to get some of them nice upgrades. Yeah.
I appreciate your efforts to support the research team, Commander.
The foundry was finally built, and we get to see a few government workers doing what they do best, standing around. The foundry is interesting because it allows you to build and upgrade shivs, which are robots you can use in place of humans on the battlefield. You can also upgrade certain items like the scope and medkit, making them more potent. And the biggest upgrade is the ammo conservation, which uses less ammo when firing your gun. Absolute monumental upgrade. I wanted all of these things right now, but I was pretty broke, so sold some materials and bought the scope upgrade, the stealth satellites, which I think would be good to get early on, and of course the ammo conservation. Okay. All good stuff.
We're certainly keeping the boys down in the foundry busy.
Commander, the Council is requesting a direct link on the secure channel.
I was presented with a council mission. This didn't seem to be a main story mission, but the rewards were pretty juicy, so off I went.
We are confident that you will handle this matter with discretion.
But not before kitting out my team's gear. Zhang stuck out like a sore thumb because I don't have the option to change his gear, and Medina hadn't earned her stripes yet. We'll see how she goes after this mission. Okay.
Strike one. We've detected what looks like a plasma bomb. In a cemetery of all places.
This was a council mission, so the unique aspect was needing to defuse the plasma bomb before it goes off. You get a certain amount of turns before the bomb explodes, but you can increase the turn rate by deactivating the power sources.
Good work. That'll buy us a little more time, but we still need to find that bomb.
So that's what we did. We worked our way through deactivating the power sources until we found the bomb.
Looks like you found the bomb. Get over there and deactivate it.
Unfortunately, Medina didn't get to earn her stripes. And there's the one team member lost per mission. I'm not doing it on purpose, honest. We managed to deactivate the bomb, which seemed to make 9,000 aliens pop into existence. Dude, that's a lot of enemies. They were only thin men, so I didn't have too much trouble with them. Come on. Nice. And good old Dawnlee got the final kill, completing the mission.
I'm reading zeros on the bomb's energy signature.
Not too shabby. Back at base, Mr. Zhang was wounded for 4 days, but we did have 2 promotions to give out. Our good old American support became a lieutenant. He had a choice between Revive, which revives critically wounded soldiers on the battlefield instead of just stabilizing them, and Rifle Suppression, which pins an enemy and grants reaction fire if it moves, plus a 30 aim penalty. I was torn because Rifle Suppression seemed really good, but I just couldn't not take Revive, so that's what I did. Nice. Our British sniper was now a captain, and either choice for the captain tree is really good, but I'd seen Opportunist in action on my other sniper and I kinda liked it, so that's what I went with. Okay. The official rewards were super nice. I got some panic reduction somewhere, 4 scientists and a bit of extra pocket money. Not bad for an easy mission. With said pocket money, I decided to buy the Shiv vehicles and improved medkit from the foundry, and I think it's safe to say we were becoming pretty strong at this point. My first ever lab finished building, giving me an unexpected achievement. Same goes for my first workshop, and the achievements were aptly named Theory and Practice. I like it.
Commander, we're detecting a new contact, much larger than anything we've previously encountered.
This was our first large UFO contact event, so I sent in the Raven hoping for the best, but was very quickly humbled. This thing destroyed me. After that humiliation, I popped a reload and this time decided to buy one of them defense matrix and targeting modules to see if these things would clutch a win. With our newly acquired tech modules, I re-engaged the tin can and did see a definite improvement after using them, but in the end I still lost. The game's way of telling me that I'm slacking. My ships need to be upgraded. With this thing currently out of my pay grade, I continued scanning for activity which completed the Illyrium research project. Even after researching this stuff, we were still too stupid to do anything with it, so we could still only use what we recover from alien crafts. Fair enough. It did allow us to build an improved arc thrower as well though, but since I've not even researched the thing for the main story mission yet, I had no plans to use it for now. For the next research project, after the not so subtle hint from the game to upgrade my ships, I went to research it but couldn't. And this was the first time it hit me that I'd messed myself up selling the weapon fragments. What an absolute melon. So instead I went with the Carapace armor, which will only take 5 days to
I
complete.
appreciate your efforts to support the research team, Commander.
The upgraded scope, stealth satellites and Shiv building projects completed. So I decided to buy one Shiv to see what this thing was all about, but it does take 7 days to complete. An abduction mission popped, and weirdly one of the locations was Leeds in the UK, which is very close to where I'm from. But South Africa had the highest panic rating, so I decided to play smart instead. Nothing too major happened in this mission, but it was an insanely hard mission for some reason. We just did our usual tactic of blowing stuff up with rockets and grenades, which does seem highly effective in all situations. Our British sniper got a beautiful reaction kill on this little dweeb. But in retaliation, our newbie Lee got clocked by the Berserker. Rip Lee. And I have to say, the triple medkit perk was coming in clutch throughout the whole mission.
Hey, quiet, you big baby, you're fine.
Supports were the actual MVPs. And after the usual 64 reloads, Yusuf finished off the last remaining alien with the sniper reaction shot again. That perk is pretty cool. That completed the mission, and our 1 death per mission remains unbroken. I'm truly impressed at this point. After the bittersweet victory, for the first time we had no promotions to give out, which was quite an odd feeling. All we had was the Ming Lee KIA message. RIP Ming Lee. Continuing on, the Carapace armor finished researching, which is a heavy armor upgrade giving more health. The research also allowed us to build an alloy Shiv robot, which is just an upgraded version of the normal Shiv, but it can be used as cover for our troops in the battlefield. Pretty cool. And finally I had the materials to research the upgraded fighter jet, so that's exactly what I did. I had learned my lesson. Despite knowing I shouldn't be selling my materials, I did it anyway, and ended up buying 2 Carapace armors straight away. Weirdly, these things only cost 16 bucks and a few alloys, which I was super confused about, but it does say they become cheaper the more engineers you have, so I'll take it. I ran out of room for satellites, so I had to buy another satellite uplink. I would have bought the Nexus, but it was a bit too expensive for me at the minute. The uplink takes 14 days and it will have to do. I did currently have 2 satellites to use though, so I sent one over the USA and Mexico. That gave us the Altogether Now achievement, having a satellite over every country in a continent, and the Air and Space bonus perk, where all aircraft and aircraft weapons cost 50% less to purchase, build and maintain, which is massive. Nice. The Ammo Conservation Foundry project finished, which was going to be super nice for future missions, and scanning again gave us the monthly XCOM report.
Unfortunately, one of our members has chosen to discontinue their involvement in the XCOM project.
Brazil left the project because I'm a terrible commander, but it's okay because I plan to forsake them anyways. We got a C grade again, which could be worse to be honest, because the early and mid game is the hardest to deal with I think, so I'll accept it for now. We did however get a big cash injection, which will be a lot less after base maintenance costs, but it will still be put to good use. I'll take it. After the meeting that should have been an email, I completed my first Shiv robot. And this thing was basically a remote control car with a Gatling gun attached, which is pretty cool. And making one of these things earned me the 5 seconds to comply achievement. Nice. The improved medkit completed, which is going to be a nice quality of life upgrade. And finally our new fighter craft research finished. We can now build the Firestorm. And also a flying Shiv randomly. I mean sure, why not? The materials were starting to look a little thin, so they only had a few choices for the next research project. I ended up going with the skeleton suit so our snipers could finally get an armor upgrade, since they don't really want to be using heavy armor. I went to buy the Firestorm, but these things are mega expensive, mainly due to material cost, so I just stuck with the one shiny new toy for now, and they do take a healthy 14 days to complete. Another UFO contact mission procced, and of course it was before my Firestorm was ready, but luckily this one's only medium sized. I managed to take it down, but only by the skin of my teeth. I honestly didn't know teeth had skin. I was actually happy to get this mission because it's a material stockpile mission, something I desperately needed. I had some shiny new upgrades to give out, and gave Dawn Lee the new Carapace armor, since she's an assault class and gets the heavier armor health perk. And I have to say, this thing looks awesome. I did realise at this point that I was still using the default weapons and really needed to fix that, but I gave Ben Rogers the other Carapace armor set and those two were definitely starting to look the part. I actually removed Major Simon just so I could try out one of these Shiv things. It felt really out of place and I couldn't change anything on it, but hey, we'll give it a go. This was a crashed UFO mission, so the first order of business was finding the thing. I played around with the Shiv and it was quite underwhelming. It didn't actually do much besides move, shoot and sit in Overwatch. But I had to keep in mind that this thing was the basic bitch version, and its main purpose was to be more expendable than a human, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I think Dawn Lee's my favourite character, and also her health is looking pretty healthy. The Shiv actually turned out to be better than expected. It's super fast and does very healthy damage when it hits, but the main thing I like about it is I didn't care if it died. So I just sent it headfirst into the fray. In a blaze of glory, he aggroed the fire from 3 old muskies and gave his life protecting the team, earning my admiration in the process. The ship's big cheese showed up, so we welcomed him with a shotgun to the face. Mission complete. I'm not even going to mention it anymore, but I am glad the game counts our little robot friend as an operative. Now, completing this mission was huge because on return to the base we earned the hardest road achievement due to advancing one of our soldiers to the Colonel rank, which is the max rank, except after this mission 3 of our core members became Colonel, which is insane. Mr. Zhang was our first Colonel Heavy class, and the Colonel perks for the Heavy class you get a choice between Rocketeer, allowing 1 additional standard rocket to be fired per battle, and Mayhem, which gives additional damage to the AoE of abilities based on the tech level of the weapon. It also increased damage to suppression, but I never really used suppression, so it's whatever. I did decide to go with Mayhem, thinking it'll be better in the late game. Dawn Lee became our first Assault Colonel, and the Assault class gets a choice between Resilient, which negates all critical damage across the board, which is pretty good, or Killer Instinct, which grants Run and Gun an extra 50% crit damage for the rest of the turn, so you had a choice between defensive or offensive. But Dawn Lee being who Dawn Lee is, we of course went with Killer Instinct. And Mr. Yusuf became our first Colonel Sniper. The snipers get a choice between In the Zone, which doesn't cost an action when killing a flanked or uncovered target, meaning if the situation was set up correctly and you hit every shot, you could wipe an entire army in 1 turn. Insane. Or Double Tap, which means you can fire twice instead of once, provided you didn't move. Now, Double Tap was guaranteed damage and In the Zone was situational, but for the times when In the Zone procced, the dopamine would be insane. So I ended up going with In the Zone. The Colonel perks are pretty good. We got a nice juicy haul of much needed loot, and I immediately sold the damaged components to earn a bit of a cash boost. I was feeling good at this point, the continents were doing fine, 3 core members were at their highest rank, and I was feeling confident that this wasn't a dead run, because rest assured you can create a dead run in this game if you mess up too much. With the extra cash I bought the final Officer Training School perk Don't Die on Me, which allows higher ranked soldiers to be critically wounded instead of killed outright. I enjoyed my little robot so much that I decided to put an order in for a hover shift to try out. It does take 7 days to get here though. No Amazon next day delivery for these things. I also bought another 2 Carapace armors since it was just a straight armor upgrade for the team, and I had room for 1 more satellite to launch, so sent it over China to keep them happy for a little bit. The skeleton armor finished researching, which means our snipers finally get their armor upgrade. These things have a built-in grapple that allow you to vault on top of buildings, and since our snipers have the increased damage when elevated perk, I'm sure they'll appreciate it. It was time for weapon upgrades now, so I decided to research the beam weapons, which only takes 4 days surprisingly. After that, 2 of the finest skeleton suits were purchased for our 2 snipers. Luckily these things weren't too expensive. The new satellite uplink finished researching, which means we get to launch more satellites. I did have 1 being made within 12 days, but decided to buy 2 more since I had the cash. Nothing seems to reduce the build time for these, so it's a good idea to get them out of the way ASAP. Our little floating robot friend finished being made, and beam weapons finished researching. We finally had some weapons to upgrade. We could make a laser pistol and laser rifle, but not shotguns, Gatling guns or snipers just yet. There was a separate research project which did become available, so I went with the precision lasers for our snipers. I immediately bought 2 laser rifles which were actually pretty cheap, and we even got to see them in action. Not a bad shot for a scientist. A terror mission procced over Buenos Aires. I decided to ignore it for a minute since my precision lasers only had 1 day left to complete, and I wanted them for the mission. The laser snipers finished, and that also gave us the scatter laser weapon, which is the laser shotgun. Dawn Lee is going to enjoy that. The heavy lasers were the next research project just so we could complete the laser beam ensemble. I bought 2 of the laser snipers and 1 laser shotgun and proceeded back to the terror mission. We had some nice new gear to give out, so I gave Lieutenant Rogers one of the laser rifles, Dawn Lee got her scatter shotgun, and I decided to give Dawn Lee the skeleton armor.
With the addition of a grappling hook, our soldiers should have an easier time gaining a higher vantage point on the field.
My thought process was since she's an assault, she could use it to get to enemies faster. both the snipers received their shiny new toys. And I actually removed Major Sideman for our support, Squaddy Jones, because I needed to rank up a new support. A Terra mission probably wasn't the best idea, but it is what it is. I do like how the team's coming along though.
We've gotten reports of alien activity taking place in a densely populated urban center.
Just like other Terra missions, we had to save the civilians before they get eaten and turned into zombies. They threw every alien under the sun at us, but since we were so geared now, it didn't actually feel too overwhelming. And I gotta say, Dawn Lee is lethal with that shotgun. And thanks to her new suit, she's now Spider-Woman. Cool. Now don't be fooled, this was a Terra mission, so it was pretty difficult. This mission probably took me 45 minutes with many reloads. But the reason it took me so long was I was going for the really hard achievement of obtaining excellent in every category on a Terra mission, and through sheer will and 9,000 reloads, as a scalpel, completed. A good one to have out the way. We lost 0 operatives again, and we even got praised by Officer Bradford.
Not a single casualty among the entire squad. That takes a solid effort.
Today was a good day. Our British sniper was now a major, giving him the low profile perk, making all partial cover counters full, and our core support, Ben Rogers, was now a captain. Support captains get a choice between combat drugs, which gives your smoke grenade a plus 20 will bonus, and 10% crit chance for people in the cloud. This perk right here is needed to obtain one of the most difficult achievements in the game, but at this point I had no idea. The alternate option was Dense Smoke, which gives your smoke grenades increased AoE and plus 20 defense to your units. Dense Smoke sounded better for now, so I went with it. And thanks to our actions, Argentina stopped whinging. I didn't have time to savour the victory, since one day later we had an abduction mission proc. At this stage in the game, I made sure to go for the most panicked country despite the rewards, since I can't really afford to lose any more countries to the XCOM project. So France gets the honour. Since the team were becoming more high tech, the mission was an absolute breeze. I did get to use my battle scanner for the first time, which was pretty cool. The main thing to watch out for in this map were exploding vehicles. They could very quickly turn our team into deep fried crispies, but so could the aliens. It was actually one of the more fun maps to play. They sent a cyber disc at me thinking it was going to do something. It didn't. After killing that thing and mopping up the rest, an easy mission completed. Mr. Chris Jones, the reserve support I was ranking up, was wounded for 3 days, but did get promoted to corporal, and I of course gave him the sprinter perk. The Firestorm has been created. Just look at that thing. It's beautiful.
I think we just leveled the playing field.
I want one in real life. Building one of those gave us the Ride the Lightning achievement. Easy game. The Firestorm's nicknamed Demon in the hangar ship list, and I decided to send it over Europe since they were currently the most panicked continent. Transferring a ship does take 3 days though. I got a request to give 2 scopes for 5 engineers, which is a no-brainer. Scopes only cost $11, so $22 for 5 engineers? Absolute bargain. A UFO crash site procced, which means materials. And since the support I was ranking up was still wounded for a day, I decided to bring in the hover ship to try out. This thing had way more health and increased damage over the last one, and it could just zoom around and hover over the battlefield, which was super cool, but it didn't quite have the same personality as the first robot. I miss that little guy. Even though this was a smallish UFO crash site, these missions were definitely getting more challenging with the higher tech enemies being thrown at us. But the team locked in and did what needed to be done. We cornered the ship sentinel, and the best strat for these guys seems to be a shotgun to the face. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Operational objectives completed.
We came out victorious, and we even saved our little robot friend this time, but that was a pretty rough mission. As you can see, most of the team were down bad, but at least everybody survived. The spoils was the goal, and it was a juicy haul indeed. The heavy lasers finished researching, and that also allowed us to equip our shivs with lasers. Pretty cool. We could also build the laser cannons as well, which is the fighter jet weapon upgrade. However, they are shorter range than the default weapons. For the next research project, I went with the Titan armor, which is the next tier of the heavy armor. I bought a couple of the heavy lasers ready to give our heavy class units, and with the materials I'd received from the last mission, I treated myself to another firestorm. Construction was started on the final access lift, which will allow me to build on the lowest level of the base. It does take 5 days though. And then I sent a completed satellite over Australia. Only 3 more satellites needed to have one over every country that hadn't left the XCOM project. Nice. Access lift completed, and that gave me Drums in the Deep achievement. The beautiful Titan armor finished researching, and this thing had a lot of health bonus but also protects against fire and poison damage, which is very nice. Since the high tier heavy armor was completed, for the next research project I went with the high tier light armor, the Archangel armor. This thing was going to turn our snipers into flying death machines. I do need to wait 8 days for it though. I went to buy some Titan armor but couldn't afford it sadly, so they will have to wait. More satellites finished building, so sent one over Africa, not realising until watching this back that I had another to send out, but I didn't realise it at the time because I'm stupid. It was now time for the council report, and this time I got the worth every penny achievement for earning 1000 credits in 1 month. Nice. We got our A grade, which I was chuffed to bits with considering all the previous months were terrible. We're managing to hold on to our remaining countries, and we did get a massive credit injection to play with. I was a happy chappy.
Remember, we will be watching.
First order of business, Titan armor. I bought 2 of those little beauties straight away. They were expensive, but it was my reward for doing a good job this month. Making this also gave me the Man No More achievement. Beautiful. And I also bought another Firestorm, which did use up most of my materials sadly. I still had cash to use though, so started construction on a new lab next to the old one, making sure to get the adjacency bonus. The same goes for the workshop on the other side. A medium-sized UFO contact mission procced, so we finally get to see our Firestorm in action. As you can see, the Firestorm absolutely destroyed the poor thing. I swapped out the hovershift to bring back our support reserve to try and rank him up, and Mr. Zhang tried on his new digs for the first time.
Added structural support this suit provides, I expect the troops will take full advantage of the added firepower that you carry around. They'll also be much less susceptible to environmental hazards like fire while wearing it.
Super cool. He also got his heavy laser upgrade. And although I liked the spider armor on Dawn Lee, she does have the heavy armor perk giving her more health. So with the Titan armor set she gets plus 12 health to her base, which is massive. The team was starting to look like saviours of humanity. We scouted for the crash ship and found the crash ship. We appreciated the gargantuan amount of health given by the Titan armor, and we were of course bombarded by aliens. Except this time we was introduced to a new enemy.
That alien there, it's not carrying a weapon like the others. What could it be doing?
It's been a while since we found a new alien, and this was the Berserker. Looked pretty scary, but very dumb. He ran headfirst into the team and died before he could even take an action. Quite a good introduction. I mopped up the rest of the aliens, found the ship sentinel, killed the ship sentinel, and completed the mission. Super easy. Our new support was wounded again, but he's earning his scars. He was promoted to sergeant and I gave him the triple medkit perk. And since it was a crashed UFO mission, we received our juicy loot. Not too shabby. The Archangel armor finished researching, which I was very excited about. And that also gave us a new foundry project to research, which will allow Shivs and the Archangel armor to use less fuel. Very nice. For the next research project I went with the new Berserker enemy autopsy. And since we now have so many scientists, autopsies only take 1 day to complete, and a day later it did, allowing us to make combat stims which increase our soldiers' stats in battle. Pretty cool. The drone autopsy was next, and when completed allows us to capture the drones of the higher tier robot enemies using our arc thrower. You know, the thing the game's been telling me to research for months but still haven't? Yeah, that thing. We will eventually. But not today, because for the next project I went with the EMP cannon. I went to buy the new foundry projects, but they were actually super expensive both in cash and materials, so they will have to wait for now. And then the EMP cannon finished. This is unique for the fighter jet since it's designed to not damage the components of a UFO, meaning you get more loot. Very nice. And we also gained the option to build the Shiv repair project in the foundry. I had no more resources to research anything else besides the arc thrower, so it was time. It only took one day, and that'll give us the option to capture live aliens during a mission, something we needed for the main story anyway. So I just bought one for now. A landed UFO mission proc, which are always welcome for its goodies, and I decided to give Dawn the arc thrower. Since she's an assault, she can get up close and personal with them, and that's needed because the arc thrower has super short range. I located the UFO and started pushing towards it, and was immediately greeted by the hockey puck. At this point I was getting too cocky and forgot the second most important rule of XCOM: don't cluster your team together. Rookie mistake. We actually got to see the Berserker in action this time, and the way this thing works is whoever shoots it, it will run towards them to try and punch them. It's pretty scary at first, but it's also its main weakness since you can ping pong them around the map. If they do get close enough to hit you though, they hurt a lot. That caused Dawn Lee to panic, but she still turned out to be useful. This was actually a big old ship, so the aliens sent a big old team to defend it accordingly. Our assault Dawn Lee dashed up and did what assaults do. And then she did become pinned, unfortunately. Mr. Zhang took care of that. And the snipers took care of the rest. It was beautiful to witness. Moving forward, we found out that the aliens were keeping humans in test tubes.
This is most likely how they keep their latest test subjects alive.
Looks like we weren't the only ones doing some probing. We opened up the trippy door and two of these fellas spawned into existence. Which means we had a good opportunity to capture one for the main story quest.
I've seen enough. I don't think there's any question now. The goal of this alien research is to the detriment of all mankind.
Who would have thunk? The way the arc thrower works is you have more chance to capture it the lower health it has. So with that in mind, I ran up to one on full health and captured it anyway.
We'll begin analyzing this new artifact as soon as you return.
Capturing that thing earned us the Gatekeeper achievement. Nice. The fella who just watched his best mate get captured soon met his demise. With our captured sentinel in tow, we were treated to a cutscene.
Is that all that's left of the specimen we attempted to capture?
Yes. I believe we may have found the source of the strange readings we picked up when we first encountered it.
In that case, I will focus on constructing an interface between this object and our global communications array, which we'll need to trace the signal.
Then it looks like researching this crystal should be our top priority.
The plot thickens. From that mission, Mr. Adam Hill also became a colonel. I ended up giving him in the zone perk for those dopamine situations. And we got our first support major, Mr. Ben Rogers himself. The major skill of a support gives them deep pockets, which gives one extra item slot to use in the inventory. Very nice indeed. For the loot, we got our first plasma weapon to research. And we were able to do this because when you capture an alien, their weapon doesn't explode, so you get to keep it. We also got a metric butt ton of materials, so I'll take it. I got some materials for research and went with the light plasma rifle. I could finally afford two of these bad boys, which are super expensive, but for our two Colonel snipers, worth it. A request came in for some alien alloys, and since I got more money than if I sold them on the grey market, I decided to go with it. I bought a few laser cannons for our fighter jets and upgraded 4 of them for now. And a satellite finished building, so I sent it over France, giving us the Expert Knowledge perk, which makes labs and workshops cost 50% less to build and maintain. Beautiful stuff. We only had one more satellite to launch to have one over every available country, but as you can see, I didn't realise I still had the one sitting in my base, so I bought an extra one, like the village idiot. Council mission procced, which wasn't a main story mission, but the rewards were always super nice from these things. Before I went, I finished researching the light plasma rifle. It's not much better than the beam weapons, so we didn't buy any. What we really wanted was the normal plasma rifles. It felt weird being this close to plasma weaponry because I'd only just started using beam weapons, but I ain't complaining. My only choice was the plasma cannon, so that's what I researched next. I returned to the council mission and kitted out our team with their new toys. Since our support's a major now, he could have 2 items to use, so I gave him the medkits and an arc thrower.
It can be a powerful feeling moving through the air without a tether. Just keep a close eye on your power levels. This suit isn't meant for long distance travel.
Time for carnage, baby. I gave both our supports the skeleton armor, with the thought process of they could grapple to teammates faster if they needed heals or revives.
Council believes Dr. Marazuki's research to be extremely valuable. They're requesting we escort him safely to the evac point.
As with all council missions, there's a unique aspect, and in this case it was an escort. We start off with him in our party and have to get him to the extraction point. We do get control of him, but all we have to do is keep him out of sight and behind cover. The Thin Men boy band showed up, and it looked like this mission was going to be infested by these guys. Rockets made short work of them, and that earned us an achievement. Nice. The only thing to watch out for was if they poisoned the doctor, since he only had 3 health. And I will also underestimate how many of these guys can be thrown at us. I actually got to try out my Archangel armor for the first time, and the way it works is you toggle flight and can fly up to a certain point which uses fuel. You get 6 fuel to start with. However, if you fly and don't move, it doesn't use fuel for that turn, meaning you can stay in the air indefinitely. This is what's going to be super nice for our snipers with the elevation perk, because they become precision flying death machines. And killing our first alien while flying gave us the Angel of Death achievement. Nice. The only downside is you're out in the open, so it's probably not the best idea to fly into the middle of a battle. They will be targeted. I did manage to capture one of the little buggers, which gave us the Prisoner of War achievement for capturing a live alien. I guess the ship's Sentinel I captured wasn't considered alive. After killing what seemed like a legion of Thin Men, we finally got the doctor to the extraction point. 17 Thin Men were thrown at us. Wild. We had a fair few wounded after the onslaught, but our reserve support was coming along nicely, being promoted to Lieutenant. I gave him the revive perk. Now that we're capturing aliens, we do get the option to interrogate them, rather than probe a cold corpse. Interrogating one of the Thin Men was considered a priority, so that's exactly what we did.
So, how'd it go, Doctor?
Better than expected. Before the creature expired, I was able to extract some new information from it.
I'm guessing interrogation was the polite word for what happened, before the alien expired. Here we get the first glimpse of this weird looking thing that was extracted from the Thin Man's memories. We also see a ship Sentinel, and that somehow they're both connected by a neural link, so we should capture one of those things too. Luckily I already had one in the back pocket. Before I could hand over the outsider alien to Dr. Varlin, an abduction mission prot, and had a choice between France or Argentina. Both had low panic, so ended up going with the engineer's reward. Margaret was back, baby! She'd been sat on the sidelines while I ranked up the second support, so I kitted her out and brung in a new squaddy, Herrera the Assault. I also brought our flying robot shifting again. We entered the battlefield in style, and straight off the bat I sent our sniper into the air and used his scanner to scout the area. Pretty satisfying. But what's more satisfying is seeing our snipers making use of the In The Zone perk, allowing multiple shots when killing an enemy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It turns out this mission has a buttload of mutons thrown at us, like a metric buttload, but our team was prepared. Our little flying robot thing was putting in some work and was drawing most of the fire from the mutons, which helped out a lot. I saw an opportunity to capture one of these things to nab its plasma rifle, but the robot kept getting criticals and killing it, or when the robot missed, the team would get a critical and kill it. It took way longer than it should have, but we eventually got the damn thing.
Excellent work.
We had no promotions to give out, but we did get our hands on the first full plasma rifle. We could also interrogate the big fella, but before we interrogated him, we first had to interrogate the outsider alien that we captured earlier, and that gave us the X marks the spot achievement. Nice. Interrogating this thing gave us the coordinates to the alien base's HQ, so now we had a new main mission objective: assault the alien base. And we could also make a skeleton key, allowing us to enter the base. Pretty cool, but we won't be doing that just yet. Now it was time to interrogate the muton I captured, and he didn't seem too pleased about it. I almost feel bad, but he was a pain in the ass to capture, so deserved. Interrogating him gave me access to plasma weaponry. Beautiful. And of course I couldn't research any of it, due to materials. Again. I could do the plasma cannon though, which is the fighter jet weapon upgrade. Fair enough. The monthly XCOM project report was due and everything seemed to be going well. The countries weren't complaining too much, so received another A grade and a hefty cash injection, plus a few more scientists and engineers. All good stuff. So what I decided to do was build my last satellite uplink, for no reason at all. I had one satellite sat in the base. I had capacity to launch that one satellite over the one remaining country that needed one, and I didn't realise it, so purchasing this thing was a complete waste. But that's what you get for being the village idiot. I also bought the final lab and workshop, making sure to get the adjacency bonuses, and it was looking pretty clean. A small UFO came to say hello, so my firestorm blew it out of the sky. Despite it only being small, I desperately needed the materials. So I brought back in the core team, forgot to give one the new plasma rifle I'd just received, and let them do what they do best. Straight off the bat we were clocked by some mutons and a berserker. The big dumb berserker ran towards us, all the stars aligned and I managed to capture it. I'll add it to the collection. After that we located the ship, found the sentinel, killed the sentinel, and then seen our first upgraded floaters.
Although similar to the other floating specimens, this one seems to have much heavier armor and weaponry.
This does look like a substantial upgrade.
And that substantial upgrade meant nothing at all. That was the fastest and easiest mission yet, with only 5 aliens to kill. So I'll take the free materials, thank you. We could now do an interrogation on the captured berserker, and do an autopsy on the heavy floaters. Nice. Before any interrogations were done though, I went with the plasma rifle research just so I could buy them whenever I wanted. I bought the skeleton key just to have it, since it didn't cost much at all, and bought the final firestorm so every continent could be defended by one of these. Good stuff. My unneeded satellite finished building, which I didn't know at the time, so we're going to call this one the Satellite of Shame. I launched the said satellite and felt proud of myself, not realising I could have done this 2 months ago. What a melon. But at least now that was every country covered by a satellite. I'll take it, I guess. The plasma rifles finished, so now we could buy them whenever we wanted. And of course had to go with the plasma snipers for our next project. Since we had so many scientists at this point, everything took no time at all to research. So the plasma sniper completed, but didn't have enough weapon fragments for other plasma research, so went with the heavy floater autopsy.
Another variation on a previously identified specimen, this is the heavy floater.
Poking around this thing's corpse allowed me to buy the advanced repair project from the foundry, reducing repair times of our fightercraft and ships. Nice. This angry boy's interrogation was next up, and that netted us an armor technology credit. Credits reduce the time to complete foundry or research projects by 50%, so it's not really needed at this point, but I'll take it. And then of course we were out of materials again, so research will have to be put on hold. You remember that satellite uplink I built for the base, thinking I needed it?
Satellite uplink complete.
Well, it finished building, and I don't want to talk about it. Eventually we got our much needed UFO contact mission, and this beauty was a large class UFO, meaning lots of goodies. There was no way we could beat one of these things before, but now we have the firestorms. An epic battle ensued, but the firestorm was just too good, bringing this thing down. Nice. I assembled the squad with 2 heavies this time, since our second support was still wounded, and gave Mr. Ben Rogers the honour of trying out the plasma rifle first. He gets the honour because supports are always underappreciated. Trust me, I know, I played support in League of Legends for many years. Never again, dude. Never again. Just look at this squad though. I'm very proud of them. We entered the mission and the large ship was right in front of us. No looking around for this thing.
This looks to be a supply ship of some kind.
Dr. Shen points out this is a supply ship, so I'm hoping for some good supplies. We started our infiltration, taking out the little aliens as we go, and even bagged myself one, because why not? We made it to what looked to be a storage bay, and was greeted by a full legion of aliens. Looks like I was in for a good time. I tried out the plasma rifle for the first time and it seemed quite effective. But my go-to rockets had difficulty aiming in this area, so I had to go old school. This fight was no joke, and the aliens just kept coming. So to get a handle on things, it was time to pull out the big guns. Reloads. This was genuinely difficult, but with enough elbow grease and big ass laser weapons, we persevered and finally did the damn thing. Safe to say that was a spicy mission. We had some nasty wounds to deal with, but everybody was still breathing, so I'll take it. We'd not captured a sectoid before, so we get to give it a good talking to, and the supply ship loot haul was juicy indeed. Definitely worth the injuries. With the materials in tow, I researched the heavy plasmas, which will allow our heavies to play with plasma Gatling guns. Very nice. I bought 2 plasma snipers and plasma rifles, so we get to witness the best shot in the base fire the thing. Shame is not recruitable. The heavy plasma research finished, which also allowed our shivs to use plasma weapons if we wanted. And the rare materials had already been depleted, so I had to go with the sectoid interrogation for now. It almost makes you feel sorry for the poor thing. Anyway, to make myself feel better, I bought myself a nice heavy plasma. Zhang is going to enjoy this. A terror mission procced. I kitted out the team with the new upgrades, but had to swap in a squaddy since the injuries from last mission hadn't healed yet. It's not what you want for a terror mission. So, Mr. Zitsev gets the honour of using the heavy plasma first. Mr. Zhang had a few choice words to say about that. Mr. Zitsev doesn't look scared at all. This mission's nothing you haven't seen before. You save the civilians, kill the aliens, witness the new heavy plasma in action, which is super cool, even if it did miss every single time. Pretty rough mission, as expected from a terror mission, but the worst blow to the team was we lost our best support, Major Ben Rogers. We had no way to heal him, since he was our only support on the team. A sad day indeed. The rest of the aliens were eventually cleaned up completing the mission, and we managed to save 12 out of 18. It's good enough for me. Ben Rogers died a hero. The 2 squaddies ranked up to corporal, so I gave Hamza the aggression perk increasing crit chance per enemy in sight, and Zaitsev the bullet swarm perk, meaning he can fire twice just for free. I hate that Zhang can't have that perk, but you get him already ranked up, so you don't get that option. I built and transferred the last Firestorm over South America, so now every continent's got one of these beauties watching over it, which means I'll never have to worry about them again. The monthly XCOM report was due, and every country besides Mexico was sipping cocktails on the beach with not a care in the world. Very good to see. We got our A grade and nice cash injection again, but the cash didn't really matter at this point. Materials was the bottleneck. I was now getting to the point where I had nothing to wait for. Seeing the upcoming events with nothing except the next council report was very strange. We eventually had a landed UFO mission proc, and this UFO was classed as an abductor, something I'd not seen before. I had the core team back, besides the legend Mr. Ben Rogers, so I kitted out my team correctly this time. I went with the 1 support and 2 assaults because I don't learn my lesson, and went to investigate the UFO. We actually had to look around for this one, but eventually found it, and they even had a welcome party ready for me. After the initial greeting formalities were out of the way, I'm capturing myself a souvenir. We worked our way through and it seemed like a normal basic mission, until we were introduced to a new enemy. This thing was beefy, and I swear it was pulled straight from Metal Gear Solid. But when you're not really sure about something, throw a grenade at it. Nice. We did also have the Muton Elites now, so this was definitely a high tier mission. And then this thing started firing up to attack. This thing hurts. But so did the Muton Elites. These things were nasty. Look at him all proud of himself. I tried to change up my strat a bit, but we were just getting slaughtered every time. And I found out the big robot thing can shoot twice in one turn. It's no joke. We eventually managed to take it down, and realised you don't want to be standing anywhere near that thing when it dies. After removing the rest of the aliens, we found the double outsider sentinel. quickly disposed of them too. And that was a very difficult mission completed. Note to self, abductor class missions are spicy. Good to know. We had a new friend to interrogate and 2 new aliens to autopsy, and I guess the big robot's called a sectopod. The loot was also very nice indeed, which allowed me to start research on the alloy cannon, which is the best shotgun our team could use. We finished said research, and it's effectively a shrapnel railgun. Dawn Lee was going to be very excited about this one. I went with the heavy floater autopsy, which just gave me a flight research credit, so it's pretty boring. And then the Muton Elite autopsy was next, which gave me a plasma weapon research credit. Also pretty boring. And finally the Sectopod autopsy, which unlocked the advanced construction project in the Foundry, which is just a big construction time increase for vehicles and facilities you build, so not bad at all. I did need 2 Sectopod corpses for the project though, so that will have to wait. For now I went with the Advanced Flight Foundry project, giving us more fuel to use with the flight suits.
We're certainly keeping the boys down in the Foundry busy.
The plasma cannons finished, so could upgrade our fighter jets if need be, but didn't have the materials to research anything else. I bought 2 plasma cannons, upgraded 2 of my ships, and was now at the point in the game where I was almost fully upgraded. I just needed materials to get there. Luckily I got a supply barge UFO proc. Not too shabby. I bought a couple more Titan armors earlier on to kit out the rest of the team, and gave Dawn Lee and Hariri their new shotguns. Also say hello to our new Squadder Campbell, our new support. We were pretty much pinnacle at this point, all except 1 item for our heavies, which we will get soon enough. Once again there was no looking around for the ship, because we spawned straight into its butt crack and was weirdly accosted by 2 ship sentinels straight away. I'd not seen that before. I swear they were getting smarter as well. They hid behind one of the power cores, so when I missed I blew it up, losing me materials which I wasn't too happy about. Something that did make me happy though was seeing the plasma sniper being fired for the first time, and they look awesome. It did a 17 damage crit, almost one shot in a cyber disc. These things are lethal. Dawn Lee also got to try out her new alloy shotgun, and with the rapid fire ability did 17 damage without a crit, almost one shot in the Berserker. And then the Berserker tried running towards Dawn Lee due to their passive, so Dawn Lee's other perk kicked in where she takes a shot at anybody who gets close to her, turning the big fella into a smoothie. Insane stuff. Another one of these tin cans showed up and actually caused some carnage, critically wounding Colonel Hill straight away. Not good. The robot's drones came to say hello, but Dawn Lee's passive kicked in again, greeting them with style. What a woman. Then we've got the newbie Campbell firing a shot 10 centimeters away from the big fella and missing. She's still new, okay? In response, the robot blew Colonel Lee and Campbell to pieces, but he actually critted himself and then did it again, blowing himself up. I'd say it's not very smart, but it was. It was worth it for them. I had to reload. Fair play. I was having some major difficulty with this mission, and sometimes when I loaded in, the whole damn crew just kind of popped into existence. Just look at this absolute tragedy. I don't think this was intended. The big fella was the main issue, and eventually Dawn had to save the day again by running up to this damn thing and critting on her first shot with 19 damage. She could have fired again but didn't need to, blowing this thing up. That alloy cannon was nasty. We eventually managed to clear the entrance bay, but had to use pretty much all of the medkits. Pretty much the whole team was down bad. 3 more mutons entered the fray, and once they were removed from existence, completed the mission. This was a large ship, and I never made it past the entrance bay, so I actually think the game bugged and spawned all 18 aliens incorrectly. It wasn't fun, but we got there after 46 minutes. That mission did an absolute number on the team, but they were alive. They handled that mission pretty well. I'm proud of them. The metric ton of loot we received though definitely cushioned the blow. Even though I'd never use it, I started research on a plasma pistol just to work towards the achievement, and bought some more plasma cannons to upgrade the fighter jets. And then we got a council mission. I wasn't interested in the cash anymore. What I was interested in is the new support major, which we desperately needed after Ben Rogers decided he's too good for this world. This was a target extraction mission.
We need you to confirm Mr. Van Doorn is still alive and bring him back safe before the whole place is overrun.
Sounded simple enough. Now, I'm going to save you 1 hour and 37 minutes of my life. I located and proceeded to the target. fought off 8 million thin men while this idiot kept yapping, and brought him back to the ship alive.
It was looking bad out there. I might not have made it if you didn't show up. I owe you one.
Job done. Now what I am gonna do is rant a little bit about this godforsaken mission. This was the most disgustingly annoying mission I'd ever done. The unintended spawns of the entire ship was easier to deal with than this. It took me 1 hour and 37 minutes, and there were only 17 thin men. The issue was the map's elevation, and all of these thin men on the back ridge here. When you tried to fire rockets, they didn't register because of the elevation. And the firing squad on the other side of the bridge was just an absolute pain in the ass to deal with. Miserable. Anyway, rant over. We did it. It's done. Get me the hell out of there. Back at base, our primary support became a major, giving him deep pockets, which is very nice. Old Margaret became a colonel, and I decided on giving her Rocketeer for double rockets since Zhang had the increased damage perk. And our secondary assault Herrera became a lieutenant, so I of course had to give him the rapid fire. No contest there. We got the official rewards, which did include our new support major, and after struggling with only the one support, Major Mora was definitely worth the godforsaken mission I just had to go through. The monthly XCOM report came in, and it's going really well, but that's to be expected at this point in the game. Late game is always the easiest. And since we didn't really have much going on until I got yet more materials, I decided to do the main story mission and assault the alien base, finally. And this was the team that would do the honours. Margaret should be here, but after the last 2 missions I thought 2 supports would be best, so our new support gets the honour instead. Either way, they were looking ready, and off they went.
God only knows what they're doing to these people. All the more reason to blow them to hell. Get moving.
We gained entry, and the first thing I noticed were those slimy, fleshy thingamabobs. Beautiful. There were a couple of drones just doing what drones do, but it made me think there's something bigger close to them since they usually orbit the big robots. But for now they just seemed alone, talking about life, or Pokemon or something. Unfortunately they didn't make it. And then it turns out my intuition was correct, because this big fella came to say hello. Seeing one of these at the start of the mission didn't fill me with much confidence, but Dawnley sent it to the junkyard all the same. We continued on through the ominous looking blue jelly door and got interrupted by 2 lower level mutants. They were quickly dealt with, but then some spider bugs popped into existence, so just like with all bugs you need to kill them with fire. I'd taken a good chunk of damage already, so bringing 2 supports was definitely the right call. We pushed through into what looked like a center chamber and saw a couple of humans taking a nap.
What in God's name are we looking at?
There wasn't too much resistance here besides a cyber disc, which our snipers quickly disposed of, and these 2 mutant elites who also met our snipers. And can you just appreciate how badass the snipers look? Flying death machines, baby! Opening the blue jelly doors was so satisfying. There was just something about it, and through this one led to what looked to be the command bay. 2 mutants came to say hello, and I think it's fair to say Dawnley's officially known as the Berserker Exterminator. A moniker deserved. I was minding my own business, saving the human race, when suddenly Dr. Shen piped up and ripped my soul to pieces for no reason at all.
Is this what the aliens do for fun? At least they're not playing computer games.
I feel attacked. How dare you, sir? And then we saw the big guy himself.
Yes, it almost looks like a larger version of the sectoid.
It looked like one of the smaller aliens, just with a bigger noggin, and my sniper took a pot shot at it and almost killed it, the absolute idiot. I wanted this thing alive.
That alien is clearly different from the others. It's wielding a power unlike anything we've previously encountered.
He did next to no damage with the weapon, but what you did need to watch out for was his psychic abilities. We didn't get to see any in this mission, because luckily our support got close enough to tase the little rascal before we got to see his abilities, and that was the dried grape looking thing captured. That completed the mission and earned the Off My Planet achievement. The mission was easier than I thought. However, Dr. Shen mentioned now that we retrieved an important device, aliens would be attacking us more frequently. It sounds bad, but to me it just means more loot, so I'll take it. We headed back to base and we just missed one of the crew members beating the first Dark Souls boss on the big screen. Everybody was applauding them. We'd also received the Hyperwave Relay thingamajig, and Dr. Varlin explains that the sun-dried tomato doesn't seem to be the Grand Commander of the aliens, and that if we study it, we could learn how to utilize its power. I'm sure you can guess what that means. We received a new mission objective, trace the hyperwave signal, and also interrogate the sectoid commander, so that's exactly what we did. That allowed us to build the psionics lab within the base. Super psychic soldier time, baby! I did the autopsy of the commander next, but he gave me nothing. Scam game. I started construction on the psionics lab, but it does take 14 days. I went with the fusion lance research next, which completed, and this thing is the best weapon our fighter jets could use. So I bought 5 straight away and upgraded all my firestorms. I literally couldn't upgrade them anymore, and it felt great to get it out of the way. Straight after that we received our first very large class UFO, so it was time to break in the new weapons. Just look at the size of that thing compared to my Firestorm. It only hit me twice and took out half my HP, but the new fusion cannons came in clutch, taking this thing down. I stuck with the same team as before since I liked the 2 supports and flew over to say hello.
This is bigger than anything we've seen so far.
With it being a big ship, there was a big welcome party. A hell of a lot of aliens to take out, but it wasn't too bad because they were spread apart over the ship. So the team had no problem taking them out. I did encounter a weird bug with the flight suits though, going through the floor. It happened a few times throughout the mission, and when it did happen they were completely locked out of any action. Or maybe they just wanted to be one with the floor, who knows. The last fight on the ship was an absolute jigsaw puzzle to try and keep my entire team alive. It was pretty rough, but eventually I sussed it, removed the last roach and completed the mission.
Another day, another successful operation.
29 high tier aliens, serious business. This mission took me just over 2 hours for a single mission, so it's now crowned as the longest mission yet. But I don't mind because it wasn't through bullshit, it was just a big mission. Fair enough. The mission did a complete number on the entire team, all except Dawn Lee funnily enough, since she's the one who gets close to them and shotguns them in the face. Huh. But the loot was very juicy indeed. We were practically rolling in alien contraband. Also, that haul opened up the guided fusion launcher research, which is the best in slot rocket launcher. The big old boomsticks for our heavies. Nice. And blaster launcher completed. Carnage inbound. I started the interrogation on the Muton Elite and bought 2 of the very expensive boomsticks. The Muton Elite spilled the beans over a cup of tea and gave us a weapon technology research credit. The final thing I could do was research the hyperwave relay, which completed, and that allowed me to construct a hyperwave relay within the base, something we needed for the main story. When that completed, we randomly got a chance to research a new ghost armor, which is a sneaky armor in case the name didn't give it away. I wasn't convinced it would be better than our current armor though, so I never actually bothered to use it. I started the hyperwave relay construction, which will take 14 days, and then went to say hello to a small UFO scout that was taken down in 1 hit. Beautiful. I equipped the new nuclear rocket launchers and used these poor suckers as target practice. Boom. The rocket launcher can go around corners and everything. It was a blast to use. Easy mission completed. And then the psionics lab finished building. The psionics lab is super interesting because it allows you to test your teammates to see if they have any psychic potential. But Dr. Varlin can explain it better than me.
We can now submit our soldiers for testing within the Psi Lab. Once we have a complete report, I'll notify you with the results. Our current research implies a strong link between a candidate's willpower and their psionic potential.
So this is where the soldier's will finally comes into play. And if they succeed, we can start shooting laser beams from our mind. Cool. To start with, I nominated squaddy called Kate, Major Chris Jones and Lieutenant Hariri. But it does take 10 days to see if they have the gift. so you need to be careful testing your core team. With some leftover cash, I bought a bunch of the Foundry projects I'd not finished yet, you can see them to the right, and then suddenly a Terra mission propped.
All mission objectives completed.
Nice. All of the current Foundry projects finished, which felt good, and then our first batch of psionic testing finished, which also gave us the Beyond the Veil achievement, which meant that somebody had the gift.
Depths of the human mind hold more secrets than we can possibly imagine. How ironic that the means to defeat our enemy comes not through weapons or machines of war, but from within.
With great power comes great boldness, apparently. And to my surprise, it was our core support, Major Chris Jones, who had the gift, so it worked out perfectly. When somebody does receive psionic abilities, they get a new small perk tree, and always start off with Mind Fray, which does a small 5 damage, but decreases the enemy's aim, will and mobility. It's not the best, but in order to unlock the higher tiers of psionic abilities, you do need to use them in battle. Either way, I was chuffed to bits we had one PSYOP, and it was the core member as well. Beautiful stuff. Next up, our Hyperwave Relay finished building, which gave us the See All Know All achievement.
Wait, what did you do? Shut it down!
Do not touch anything!
It's ripping itself apart! Shut it down, now! It could destroy the whole base!
Nine! Give it time. For once. Trust me.
It's working. Sir, new data is inbound from the hyperwave uplink.
So they turned it off and on again and fixed the problem.
The risk was worth the reward. If we hadn't pushed on, there's no way we would have gotten this information.
And with this, we can now see the Overseer UFO location. So our new mission objective, intercept the Overseer UFO, which I did straight away. And it was a piece of cake for some reason. I'll take it. Now the cool thing about the Hyperwave Relay is we can actually see the mission data before we enter it. So for this one there's going to be 15 aliens, a bunch of high tier ones I've fought before, and then something else I've not fought before. An ethereal. Sounded spicy. I got the crew together, making sure to have Major Jones, our PSYOP, with us this time, and sent them to investigate. Bradford explained the aliens really didn't want us to find this ship, so they're going to be a bit grumpy that we're here. We started scouting around for the ship, which actually wasn't too hard to find, and met 2 sector pods right out of the gate. I kindly asked for some tea and biscuits, in which they refused, so I had to put them down. They left me no other option. Then a massive swarm of heavy muton elites showed up, which did end up being a pretty difficult battle, but we came out victorious in the end, and I think the battlefield speaks for itself. They were pretty rough to deal with, but nothing the team can't handle at this point. We pushed further into the UFO, and when we reached the centre we found this strange bubble looking thing.
Commander, that device, it seems to be of great importance to them.
And next to the bubblegum machine, we encountered our first ethereal.
This is unlike anything else we've previously identified. Based on its physical appearance, I would assume this alien doesn't rely on brute strength.
Now, ethereals are the highest tier of enemy you can encounter in XCOM, and they are extremely dangerous with their psychic abilities. They can even shield themselves from gunfire and reflect a small portion of the damage back at you. Oh, and to make matters worse, our British sniper got stuck in the ground, so I just kind of left him there to think about his actions. I did want to capture this thing, which did prove difficult since they can mind control your team.
Incredible. That alien seems to have taken control of that soldier somehow.
And Dawn Lee got mind controlled, which was very scary. Sang got critically wounded, but our sniper got a lucky crit off, which was nice, but then it just went south very fast. Hill died, Dawn Lee was firing at her own team, many reloads ensued. We did get to use our own psychic ability, which was cool. But this ethereal hurt a lot. Eventually we got the thing into a position to be captured, which really wasn't easy, but Dawn Lee did the honours and completed the mission, earning us Hell's Coming With Me achievement. Beautiful. We brought the bubblegum machine back into the base, which revealed the location of the big cheese itself. And that gave us a new objective: use the ethereal device. We could also research it and interrogate one of these Count Dracula looking things, so I of course did the interrogation first. I do like a good chat. Interrogating this thing turned out to be a bust. All we received was a research credit. Not that good at this stage in the game. However, with the autopsy, that completed every autopsy in a single playthrough achievement. A very nice one to get. We could now also buy mind shields, which give good defense against psionic attacks. Makes sense? And then all I had left to research was the ethereal device itself, which completed and allowed us to build a Gollop chamber in the base. The Gollop chamber will take a psionically gifted soldier and allow them to access the ethereal psychic net, allowing us to assault the alien headquarters. So I began the construction straight away, which takes 14 days. I tested 3 more recruits to see if they're gifted, and had the monthly XCOM report.
We are extremely impressed with the progress of the XCOM project thus far, Commander.
Straight A's, baby. We also had some new armor to research, the Psi armor, which increases the potency of psionic abilities. Very nice. We got another Abductor class UFO mission proc. Taking this one down gave us the Hunter Killer achievement for taking down one of each class of ship. We are also getting ethereals in the missions now. Cool stuff. And mission complete. That was the easiest Abductor mission I've ever done. Only 12 aliens on the ship. I'll take it. The Psi armor completed, so I bought one straight away for Chris Jones to use.
In the right hands, this suit could be the most dangerous thing we've ever developed.
As you can see to the right, it's very powerful armor in regards to stats. He is looking a bit like a frog, but I think that's to do with the helmet. Either way, it's a good upgrade. And I also decided to make him purple for some reason. We did receive another gifted soldier, but they were only a squaddy, so they'll be on the bench for now. And then I tested 3 of our core members, Margaret, Yusuf and Maury. Let's just hope we don't get a mission proc. I bought the rest of the available Foundry projects, but I did need to wait 15 days to see them all completed. The Bubblegum Machine Room or the Gollop Chamber finished construction, and that gave me an achievement. And then the last Foundry project finished, which also gave me the achievement for completing every Foundry project in a single playthrough. Feels good to get these later game achievements. A Terror mission procced. Terror mission completed. I'm just that good. Our second assault, Herrera, became a captain, and I gave him the close combat specialist since on Dawn Lee it was broken. And we also got some nice materials. The core team batch of Psi testing yielded no results sadly, so I stuck in 3 more guinea pigs. I finally seen the weird Gollop chamber icon and decided to click it, and it told me a soldier is capable of using the device. Dr. Varlin then explains that if we use this thing there's no turning back, so this thing here activates the final mission of XCOM. We'd made it, but we still had a couple of achievements to knock out, so this mission will be put on hold while I work on those. After completing a Crash UFO mission, our Psi operative gained rank 3, and at rank 3 you get a choice between Telekinetic Field, which creates a deflective bubble around your team, super cool, or Mind Control. Mind Control grants control of an enemy for 3 turns if successful, robots not applicable. For the fun factor, I of course went with Mind Control. After completing a council extraction, I received the Oppenheimer achievement for staffing the facility with at least 80 scientists. The monthly XCOM report gave me some engineers which completed 1 gun at a time achievement for staffing 80 engineers, and disregard the B grade for letting UFO escape. You saw nothing. I put together a full squad of ladies to go on a mission. They proceeded to cause sheer carnage, and once the mission completed that earned me the Valkyrie achievement. I'm fairly sure there were a few minor achievements that I've missed, while sifting through 5 hours of footage to look for a 2-second achievement notification. If I have missed them I do apologise, and I've made a note to self to write down the timestamps of achievement earned and when. You live and learn. However, now at this point in the game, every achievement I could earn during this run had been completed. There was no other achievements I could obtain, all except for the final mission. So that's exactly what I did next. The game gives you a fair warning that this is it. I proceeded, and Chris Jones has the honour of being our psionic catalyst.
With each of our major victories, we have encountered incrementally more powerful aliens. After the first alien craft was shot down, they began a campaign of terror. The alien forces were led by a sectoid commander, a powerful psionic creature. Upon capturing the hyperwave beacon, we detected a cloaked ship carrying a being of incredible psionic power. Having captured the device it sacrificed itself to protect, an immense alien ship has now appeared within our atmosphere. We can only assume that a being of even greater psionic power is on board this vessel. We have already pushed human evolution so far, and I fear where the next step will take us. But our enemy leaves us with no other choice. A new type of weapon is required.
At long last, you have succeeded where we have failed.
After the nice recap from Dr. Varlin and the filthy Xenos talking into our brain, we received the volunteer achievement. Now it's time to assault the temple ship, and this is the team to do it. Colonel Lee, Samad, Jones, Hill, Zhang and Simon. Most of them have been with us since the start of the game, and each of these has earned the right to undertake the final mission. The mission objective: force entry to the temple ship's bridge, and the volunteer, Mr. Chris Jones, must survive. Let's get it.
You hear our voice, new one. Now listen well. Long have we watched and waited.
We enter, and the grey static yapping explains that they've done countless experiments on many alien species to see if they are physically and mentally strong enough to be part of their collective. All have failed until they found us. We are the only capable species apparently. Well, Mr. Grey Static, we're not for sale. And just FYI, the Rising Dragon achievement that you're seeing is for bringing Zhang, who you get at the start of the game from a council mission, all the way into the final mission. Our Psyop gained a new ability during this mission called Rift, which creates a devastating psionic storm. Neat. I entered through the first door and found the little Sultana alien just chilling. And if you're interested, this is what Panic looks like. Pretty cool. The Grey Static explained that these were the first species to be tested, and although they had some minor psychic potential, ultimately they were weak and feeble, making them useless, hence being target practice. I pushed forward and we had the Cyberdisc and its drones pop into existence. Mr. Grey Static explained that together they cancelled each other's weaknesses, but ultimately they had no gift for higher thought, so that also made them useless. I tried out the Rift ability on these things just to see what it did. And it seemed very powerful indeed. After using it, the Grey Static piped up and got excited that we could use it. Each to their own fetish, I guess. After the petri dishes were taken care of, we pushed forward and saw the floaters. Apparently another disappointing effort on their part. The organic form they used failed to evolve, so they were imbued with machine parts to turn them into forced killing tools. Pretty sad when you think about it. While putting the floaters out of their misery, the chrysalids showed up. The Grey Static explained they searched for the gift in the most unsavoury beings, the chrysalids being one of them. They did evolve to some degree, but were still insects incapable of direction, so they were deemed fit to only breed and die, like insects do. Another failure. The Thin Men were next, and the Grey Static was quite proud of them since they were intelligent and loyal, easily pliable, but they could not embrace the gift, so another wasted attempt. The Beefy Boy Muton race was next, and they have rare strength and are easily controlled, but had no independence or brilliance. Basically dumb brutes and nothing more. Another failure. The big old Sectopods were up next, another synthetic enemy they crafted. as a tool more than anything else, but contributed nothing to their actual cause. Fair enough. I did the sectopods a favour and blew them up with a nuke. Just look at that damage. The grey static piped up again, enjoying the carnage I'm creating, and then we entered the main bridge itself, where we met the Council of the Ethereals. Now surprisingly, they mentioned that they are also a failure, unable to ascend as they had hoped, whoever they are. They were cast out and forced to feed on the gift of lesser beings, and to uplift them for what lied ahead, whatever that is. We commenced battle and we had 3 of these to deal with, along with a few Muton elites. I tried using the big rift ability on the main vampire looking thing and it did 4 damage, so psychic abilities against the uber psychic beings definitely wasn't it. I took out the Muton elites with our trusty snipers and proceeded with the highly advanced strategy of trying to blow up the Ethereals with rockets. It seemed fairly effective. They then explained that their physical form has grown ineffective, hence they need to find a new capable species, and we turned out to be that species, so they wanted to possess us to become their new hive mind. Not today, you spangly spacebug. I tried mind controlling one of these things, and even with all the best psionic gear available to increase my will, I still had only a 12% chance, which was brutal. Mind controlling one of these things was one of the harder achievements to knock out, so that will have to wait for now. Instead I blew it up, which they weren't too happy about. It turned out they also had the rift ability and it hurt a lot. After a gruesome battle, eventually Mr. Samad himself hit the beautiful shot, taking out the big cheese. If you don't want spoilers of the ending cutscene, look away now.
What the hell is happening?
The ship itself is behaving like a dying star. Becoming a black hole. At this distance, the Earth will be consumed.
Central, I'm bugging out. The package is not on board. Waited as long as I could, sir.
Sir, the alien ship is in motion.
What direction? What direction?
Up.
Mr. Chris Jones, the support until the very end. What a hero. The ending is so good. Now, we received a lot of achievements here, but the one that confused me was our finest hour achievement. It said I beat the game on impossible difficulty, but if you remember early on in the game, I switched to the difficulty below the highest, so I guess it bugged. Either way, it is what it is. And we also now had access to the second wave game mode, which allows for some pretty fun gameplay options like red fog timers and damage roulette, if that's your kind of thing. It took us just under 400 in-game days to complete the game. We'd killed over 500 aliens, And everything else about the journey is also listed, so feel free to search for yourself. That is the end of the game, but not the end for me. I still had a couple of achievements to knock out. So, I played the entire game again, got to the last mission, and if you'll notice there's only 4 team members. That's because I went for the achievement where you never buy the increased squad perk and complete the game with the default 4, and also Mr. Zhang was our volunteer this time. I went for one of the harder achievements by mind controlling an ethereal, which did take quite a bit of setup. Zhang had all the best gear, and if you remember early on in the video I talked about a support grenade that increases will, so I made sure to take that one. Used it, and used the psionic ability that also increases will, along with a combat stim. I just can't find the footage for it. So my will was pretty much maxed out at this point. I eventually got to the ethereal, and I had a 79% chance to mind control this thing, which was successful, finally giving me the Xavier achievement. It is there, honest, my recorder just decided to not record the Steam overlay for some reason. And the good thing about using the ethereal is he drew all the fire from the aliens, and since he's an ethereal, the psychic attacks did barely any damage. Pretty cool. I mopped up the rest of the space bugs, and this time Zhang was the one sacrificing himself. What a legend. And of course my recorder wasn't catching the Steam overlay. You can't see it, but I received the other hard achievement in XCOM, which is called Ain't No Cavalry Coming. You get that by having one soldier plane survive every single mission you go through during an entire playthrough, with only 2.2% of players having that apparently. Pretty cool. Weirdly, I never received the achievement for never buying the squad increase perk, so I'm going to assume that achievement is from the DLC of XCOM, which means I played through the entire game with only 4 people for no reason. However, just some advice, taking 3 heavies and 1 support and rushing the guided fusion rocket launcher research trivialized the entire game. Heavies are super broken, just FYI. It does say only 55% of achievements earned, but that's technically wrong since the rest of those achievements are within the DLC, XCOM Enemy Within. You see what I did there? If you enjoyed this one, then keep your eyes peeled for that one. And that game is a massive upgrade in every single way, and I'm going to have a blast with it. But there is one achievement that I'm not sure I can do, which is play or win a multiplayer game. I don't think it's possible to do that. I tried many times to search for a game, but it just didn't exist. It was kinda sad to be honest, but maybe one day. A $2 game, people. $2. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. Truly, this is my first video of this type, as evidenced by the shaky start and sound level changes. There were some teething problems, but I hope it became better, since it does take a monumental amount of hours to produce this kind of stuff. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. See you in the next one.